Chapter 84. Tang Manlu and the pretty girl were shocked as well. Although the top 8 families were not as powerful as the top 5 martial institutions, their influence in the whole Windy Nation was not something that their families could compare with. As for the martial institutions, it did not mean much. Nowadays, anyone with a little bit of talent would be able to join a martial institution. No one could use the power of a martial institution to scare the others, unless you were the son or daughter of the leader. The pretty girl remained silent, as if she had nothing to do with it. One of the top 8 families, the Yi family is indeed powerful, but that's all you can do. Relying on your family's power, without the protection of your family, you are nothing. Tang Manlu calmed himself down. He did not want to lose face in front of the shopkeeper and the pretty girl, so he said lightly. Wu Zhongming said with disdain, "You are also relying on the Tang family. I think, without the Tang family's support, you would not be one of the top 8 warriors of the Forgotten City. You are looking for death." Tang Manlu's eyes were filled with anger. Slowly walking in front of Wu Zhongming, Yi Chen lifted his eyelids and said, "Words are useless. Let's exchange a punch. Whoever takes one step back will have to get the hell out of the number 4 private room. How about that? Are you serious?" Hearing Yi Chen, Tang Manlu was shocked at first, but then a smile appeared on his face. He was still in a dilemma. He didn't know if he should advance or retreat, but he didn't expect Yi Chen to be even more arrogant and ignorant than he had imagined. Yi Chen actually dared to challenge a late condensing reality realm warrior. He was just asking for trouble. Although he was not a core disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace, he was still one of the most powerful inner disciples. How could he be afraid of a mid-condensing reality realm warrior? Of course, Yi Chen had never exchanged blows with a late condensing reality realm warrior before. This was the perfect opportunity for him to see how powerful he was. As for losing, he did not even think about it. When he was at the early condensing reality realm, he could already beat Wang Kunyang, who was at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm, with only one punch. After reaching the mid-condensing reality realm, his power had increased a lot. Even if his opponent was a core disciple, he would not be able to avoid this punch. Tang Manlu turned his head and said to the shopkeeper and the pretty girl, "That's great, shopkeeper Li Ling, you too can be our witnesses. I am afraid that someone will not admit it." The shopkeeper smiled at Yi Chen, but did not say anything. "Sure." The pretty girl, Li Ling, nodded in agreement. However, it was obvious that she did not think highly of Yi Chen. She thought that he was blindly confident and could not see the truth. Enough nonsense, let's begin. Yi Chen did not dare to be careless. He pushed the third movement of the Pure Jade body boosting spell to its peak. His skin started to emit an inconspicuous jade-like luster. Even his clothes were covered by a layer of it. His hair had a strong texture. Each strand of it was crystal clear. Wu Zhongming, shopkeeper Yu, and Li Ling retreated to a corner to make room for them. "Fine, today I will show you my strength." With every word he said, Tang Manlu's aura rose by a notch, and in the end, a flame-like colored glazed chi exploded from his body, soaring into the sky, and some of the decorations on the walls were blown away. Li Ling narrowed her eyes. She knew that Tang Manlu could not be underestimated. He had reached the highest level of the 7th level of the Azure magic spell in only a couple of years, and had reached the level of fire-like Shen Qi. It seemed like there was no doubt about the result of this battle. Shoo, shoo, shoo. While Tang Manlu was making such a big noise, on the other side, Yi Chen was not any slower. Sharp qi shot out from his body like needles, piercing the floor and the tables and chairs on the side, creating countless small holes. Not only that, the sharp qi flow formed into qi swords, hiding in the air. The 7th level of the pure Junjin qi. Li Ling was shocked. As an inner disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School, she had fought a lot with the inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. She had seen a few of them who had trained the pure Junjin qi, but they had only reached the peak of the 6th level. None of them had reached the 7th level. According to the rumors, the pure Junjin qi was the hardest to train among all the top-rank mortal realm martial arts in the Sky Cloud Martial School. If he was given enough time, he would definitely become a core disciple. Li Ling still did not think highly of Yi Chen, but she was quite optimistic about his future. Even if he trained it to the 7th level, it would still be useless. The difference between the mid-condensing reality realm and the late-condensing reality realm is not as simple as you think. Tang Manlu was not worried at all. He slowly tightened his right fist, making a cracking sound. It was as if his palm was not made of flesh and blood, but a whole piece of jade that was rubbing against each other. Great jade breaking fist. A bright white light appeared on his fist as Tang Manlu threw out a punch. Rumble. Before the punch was completely thrown out, the whole restaurant started to shake. The customers who were eating were confused, not knowing what was happening. Inside the number 4 private room, the air started to shatter bit by bit. Yi Chen ignored the change in the air, he stood still. With the protective chi covering his body, these small movements could not hurt him at all. Tiger roar, dragon fist. Seeing the fist approaching his body, Yi Chen did not stand still anymore. He took a step forward, and his right fist suddenly burst out a bright blue light. It pierced through the air with a tiger roar, leaving a dragon-shaped chi flow behind. The two fists clashed together. The next second, including Li Ling, everyone's eyes could not see anything. Only the white light and the blue light intertwined together, filling up the huge private room. Boom! A thunderous sound was heard. The walls of the private room cracked, the floor cracked, the tables and chairs were shattered, and a series of cracking noises were heard. It seemed like someone was pushed back and crashed into something behind him. After a few blinks of the eye, the blue light and the white light disappeared. When they saw the situation in the private room, they all had their eyes wide open. They could not believe what they saw. Tang Manlu lost. Li Ling took a deep breath. Inside the damaged private room, Yi Chen stood there unmoving like a mountain. The clothes on his right arm were slightly torn, and his eyes moved to the opposite side. There was a human figure leaning against the wall, and the huge power had even caused the wall to collapse. Bright red blood flowed down from his right arm and mouth, and his face was pale and bloodless. This person was none other than Tang Manlu. Get the fuck out. Yi Chen's voice was heard. He was not too excited about beating Tang Manlu with only one punch, since he had 15,000 pounds of physical strength. His tiger roar, dragon fist had been trained to the peak. It had already evolved into the most powerful attack. If he still could not beat Tang Manlu back, then it would be a problem. Not to mention, Tang Manlu was not that much stronger than Wang Kunyang, who also had 10,000 pounds of physical strength. Good, very good, I will not let today's incident go so easily. Tang Manlu was not seriously injured, after all, he was a late condensing reality realm warrior, his protective Jin Chi was very strong. However, the shame in his heart was driving him crazy, he could not wait to cut Yi Chen into 1,000 pieces. Standing up, Tang Manlu walked out of the private room in embarrassment, he did not even call Li Ling. Chapter 85. Li Ling took a deep look at Yi Chen and walked out of the room, leaving the restless manager Yu behind. Since he had made a mistake, he had to make up for it himself. With a face full of remorse, Manager Yu said, "Master Yi, I was blinded by a ghost and did something that offended you. Please don't take it to heart, Master Yi. From now on, there will always be an empty private room in Shilai restaurant, waiting for your arrival." Yi Chen did not plan to blame the shopkeeper, since it was not easy for him to do anything. Everything he did had to be done according to other people's wishes, and if he was not careful, he might offend someone. Before this, if he did not kick Yi Chen and Wu Zongming out, he would offend Tang Manlu. "Don't worry, I won't cause you any trouble. It's just that we haven't finished our meal. Find us a place, even outside, but don't chase us away," Yi Chen said lightly. Yes, I will do it for you right away." Manager Yu was so grateful that he bowed and retreated. After Manager Yu left, Wu Zongming looked at the broken Chen room and shook his head. He said firmly, "This time, no matter what price I have to pay, I must get a Jin restoration pill." Yi Chen said, "Although there will be some side effects, as long as you can control it, it won't be a big problem." To a warrior, cultivation was a way to go against the natural order. As long as one's heart was not corrupted, there was no need to worry. Soon, Manager Yu arranged a place for the two of them in the hall on the second floor and personally served them food and wine. He was very enthusiastic. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The third day. Early morning. Light rain fell from the gloomy sky, sprinkling evenly on the ground of the forgotten city. In the north of the central part of the forgotten city, there was a magnificent building. It was stable and 30 meters tall. There was a huge board hanging above the door, with 5 majestic golden words carved on it, Northwest Auction House. Looking down from the sky, there were dozens of people around the huge Northwest Auction House, rushing towards the auction house along the streets or alleys. Among them, there were rich and powerful people sitting in palanquins, noble women raising low-level demonic beast pets, and young elites riding fine horses. Of course, there were even more unfamiliar martial artists, which made up 70% of the total number of people. Outside the gate, Yi Chen looked at the words on the board and walked in side by side with Wu Zhongming. "You two are..." The receptionist outside the door could tell that the young man was extraordinary at first glance, so she hurriedly came over to ask. After all, a person of noble status could not sit in the ordinary seats like the others. Wu Zhongming said, "This is a direct descendant of the Yi clan, Yi Chen. I am a descendant of the Wu clan. The Yi family, one of the 8 great families. This way, please. I'll take you to a private room." The receptionist secretly rejoiced. As a receptionist, she must have good eyesight. Although she did not know some people, she could tell a thing or two from their temperament. She must not treat them as ordinary people and neglect them. The young man in front of her was actually a direct descendant of the Yi clan, so he was definitely of noble status. Although there were many Wu clans mentioned, to be able to walk together with a direct descendant of the Yi clan, it must be the most powerful Wu clan. Walking in front, the receptionist in a thin silk dress twisted her waist. She was already thinking about how generous the reward would be when the higher-ups knew about this. The auction house was very big, even more magnificent than the auction house in Yi Chen's world. The surrounding walls were inlaid with many gold and crystal stones, forming a beautiful pattern. It did not look vulgar at all, but instead gave people a sense of joy. The private room for the two was directly opposite the stone auction stage to the left. The private room was not big, and there were not many things inside. There were only a few beast leather chairs and a red sandalwood table filled with snacks and fruits. There were some landscape paintings on the wall. "If you need any service, you can tell me. I'll be right outside." She was not the only receptionist. Each of them was in charge of a private room. Yi Chen said, "Okay." The receptionist walked out and closed the door. Wu Zhongming sat down on the beast leather chair. It was soft and had a nice fragrance. Private rooms are great. There are even beast leather chairs to sit on. Yi Chen sat on the leather chair next to Wu Zhongming and laughed. "That's all? You are the second young master of the Wu clan after all. Don't mention it. The inheritance of the Wu clan will not be mine. I don't care anyway. I'll just be an outer elder in the Sky Cloud Martial School." Wu Zhongming put a grape in his mouth and said. Yi Chen shook his head and did not say anything. His goal was simple. He wanted to become stronger and explore the mysteries of the world. In the third private room, there were 5 young people sitting there. The one on the left was Tang Manlu, who had been defeated by Yi Chen last night. Sitting next to him was the pretty girl, Li Ling. The one sitting in the middle was a young man wearing a purple and gold robe. He was about 17 or 18 years old. His eyebrows were very thick and sharp like blades. His eyes were shining brightly like 2 shiny black gems. His legs were very long, about 3 to 4 inches longer than a normal person's. As he sat there, boundless pressure filled the entire private room. It was obvious that he was the leader of the 5. The 2 people on the right of the young man were wearing the same purple robe as Li Ling. They did not have any gold robes. They had a powerful aura, which was no weaker than Tang Manlu's. "Tang Manlu, I haven't seen you for half a year. Your cultivation has improved a lot." The young man caressed the storage ring on his finger and said casually. Tang Manlu had a complicated look on his face. He said, "Not as good as you, Ouyang Ming. You have the title of Little Godly Legs. I don't know how many people have been killed by your legs. Of course. In the whole Windy Nation, except for the young Master Emerald who has already reached the clasping Yuan realm, Our brother Ouyang is one of the most powerful martial artists. One of the two people on the right said. Of course, of course. But I heard that this time, the third disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy, North Snow Fast Blade Lynch, will also come. I am afraid that he is also here for that great blade. Sitting with the young man, Tang Manlu always felt inferior. He could not help but use the name Lynch to pressure the young man. Ouyang Ming sneered, North Snow Fast Blade Lynch. I will fight him sooner or later. Let's see which is more powerful, his blade or mine. Although his title was Little Godly Legs, his blade art was also very powerful. It was not weaker than his leg art. However, there were too many people who used blades, especially in the North Snow Martial Academy. That was why he was called Little Godly Legs. Right at that moment, a human figure suddenly appeared on the crystal glass in front of them. The human figure was wearing a snow-white robe. He was tall and skinny. He seemed to be walking very slowly, but the waitress behind him could not keep up with him. She almost fell down. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Judging from his temperament, the human figure was very impressive. However, when people looked at his face, they were very disappointed. Because he had a very ordinary face, so ordinary that they would not be able to find him in a crowd. Lynch. Ouyang Ming's eyes flashed like lightning in the air. He slightly lowered his center of gravity, which made the sturdy leather chair creak. As if he had sensed Ouyang Ming's gaze, the human figure turned his head and looked into Ouyang Ming's eyes. The waitress was very confused. The crystal glass could only show the outside from the inside, but not from the outside. Why did this disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy look like he was looking at a person? Chapter 86. In the private room, Tang Manlu didn't look Lin Chi in the eye, but Lin Chi's gaze made him jump in fright. He had the illusion of being cut by a knife. It was as if Lin Chi's gaze was a knife light that could cut through illusions and hurt people's souls. It had an inconceivable power. In the void, Ouyang Yangming and Lin Chi's eyes had already clashed. Countless electric sparks were produced, and they refused to give in to each other. After a few blinks of an eye, both of them looked away. North Snow Quick Blade. Ouyang Ming sneered, his face did not look so good. Although Lynch was not as powerful as young Master North Snow, his gaze was more powerful. Just now, it seemed like they were evenly matched, but in fact, Ouyang Ming was already at a disadvantage. No wonder the leader of the North Snow Martial Academy, Xue Wuren, thought that Ouyang Ming would be the most likely person to comprehend the blade intent. However, as long as he did not comprehend the blade intent, Ouyang Ming was confident that he would be able to compete with him. Outside the private room, Lynch expressionlessly walked forward and stopped in front of the private room next to Yi Chen's. Yi Chen suddenly frowned, he seemed to feel a blade aura approaching him. Yi Chen, what's wrong? Wu Zongming asked. Yi Chen shook his head, nothing, the auction is about to start. Yeah, most of the people have arrived. Oh right, how much money did you bring? 180,000 gold. You didn't ask your family for money. 180,000 gold was a huge amount of money for normal people, but it was normal for them. This time, for the Jeune pellet and some other treasures, Wu Zongming had collected 300,000 gold. Yi Chen's family was much bigger than the Wu family. If he really wanted to collect, it would definitely be more than this amount. Yi Chen laughed, that's enough. I'm just going to take a look, maybe I won't buy anything. 180,000 gold was the bloody butcher's entire wealth and the money he had earned from his recent missions. It was already quite a lot. If there was something he was interested in, he still had 10,000 low-rank soul stones in his storage ring. If each one was worth 2,000 silver, then 10,000 low-rank soul stones would be worth more than 20 million silver, or 2 million gold. It was even more than the total assets of some small families. When the time comes, you will regret bringing too little silver. Wu Zongming grinned. Yi Chen's mind was not completely focused on the conversation with Wu Zongming. His powerful soul force penetrated through the wall and searched the room next door. There was only a young man sitting in the private room. His appearance was ordinary, and he was dressed in a white robe. His slim body was straight, and his profound qi was not emitted from his body. Instead, it was pulled inwards, as if he was trying to concentrate his chi. Peak of late condensing reality realm, this guy should be North Snow Fast Blade Lynch. Yi Chen did not think of young Master North Snow, because young Master North Snow was said to be very handsome, and always had a smile on his face. Plus, he was very handsome, and was the dream of all the female disciples in the Sky Cloud Martial School. Lynch didn't know anything about soul power exploration, but the strange feeling still made him vigilant. He tilted his head and looked at the flat wall. Did you notice it? No, I didn't. Yi Chen noticed that the other party's gaze was scattered and did not notice him. Of course, there was no point in continuing to explore, so Yi Chen withdrew his soul power. Lynch felt that the strange feeling disappeared. He was a bit confused, but he didn't think too much about it, because the auction had begun. Behind the stone auction stage, an old man in a yellow robe walked up. He clapped his hands, and all the crystals above the auction house suddenly lit up. The soft light illuminated every corner of the auction house. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Northwest Auction House. I am the intermediate auctioneer here, Chen Zongchao. I think a lot of you already know me. For those of you who don't know me, you don't have to remember my name, because the next time you come, I might be the host of the auction again. Before the auction, I still have to say, if you have any precious items that you want to auction, you can entrust them to our auction house. Items are divided into 4 ranks according to their value. Low-rank treasures will only take 10% of the auction fees, mid-rank treasures will take 5%, high-rank treasures will be auctioned for free, and as for the extreme-rank treasures, we will even pay you the money. Once he said this, the people below started discussing. Are you kidding me? If there are high-rank and extreme-rank treasures, who would take them out to auction? You must be out of your mind. That's right. A low-rank treasure is enough to make people fight for it, and mid-rank treasures can make clasping Yuan realm and astral-reaching realm warriors go crazy for it. Top-rank treasures are even worse, not to mention extreme-rank treasures. Yi Chen was also speechless. The ranking of the auction items was the same as the storage rings, which were divided into 4 ranks. A low-rank storage ring was equivalent to a low-rank treasure, and a mid-rank storage ring was equivalent to a mid-rank treasure. As for top-rank and extreme-rank treasures, he dared not even imagine what it would be. The elder in yellow revealed a smile. He did not say these words casually, but to stir up the people's emotions. Once people got excited, they would do things that were hard to understand, which was exactly what the auction house wanted. All right, I will not waste your time anymore. The auction will officially begin. Let the first item come up. As the elder's voice faded, a beautiful lady walked up from the back. She was holding a gold-inlaid wooden plate, which was covered with a bright yellow silk cloth. The gold-inlaid wooden plate was placed on the stage, and the elder in yellow lifted up the silk cloth. All of a sudden, a blue manual appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The first item is a martial skill manual, called the Green Yuan Palm, a top-rank mortal realm martial art. It is a unique martial art from the Rank 8 martial institution, the Green Yuan Martial School, from hundreds of years ago. When trained to the extreme, the palm power can even shatter a great sword into pieces. It is extremely powerful. It is even more powerful than many top-rank mortal realm martial arts. The starting price is 20,000 gold, and each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. Hearing the elder in yellow's introduction, the audience was shocked. Some of the warriors who did not join any martial institution were envious. They were not like the martial disciples, who could learn top-rank mortal realm martial arts after being promoted to inner disciples. They did not need to worry about it at all. Most of them had only learned top-rank mortal realm martial arts, and some of them had only learned mid-rank mortal realm martial arts, which was quite shabby. Damn, let's do it. If we can learn a top-rank mortal realm martial art, we will be able to make a name for ourselves in the martial world. Those martial disciples will not compete with us, so we will have a better chance of getting the manual. We have to get it. Through the crystal glass, Yi Chen saw the changes in the crowd and shook his head. Compared to the martial disciples, these warriors did not have it easy. All they learned were trash, and the martial disciples would not even look at them once. However, according to the introduction, the Green Yuan Palm seemed to be very powerful, and it might even be as powerful as the Tiger Raw Dragon Fist. No wonder so many people wanted to come to the Northwest auction house. 22,000 gold. Someone could not help but start to bid. After the first bid, the whole auction house became chaotic, and people kept calling out bids. 23,000. 25,000. Fuck, 28,000 gold. A ferocious-looking warrior stood up. I will bid 30,000, who dares to compete with me? 30,000 is nothing, 35,000. Yi Chen was shocked. No way, a top-rank mortal realm martial art can be sold for 35,000 gold, then what about my 180,000 gold? Chapter 87. 40,000. The ferocious-looking warrior directly added 5,000 gold. It was obvious that he was determined to get this Qing Yuan palm manual. Damn it, I only have 38,000 gold, I still need 2,000 gold. Whoever wants to lend me, I will pay you back double in the future. Someone tried to borrow money from the warrior next to him. We don't care about 2,000 gold, but what if we run into some good stuff and don't have enough gold? So sorry, we can't do that. You are right, the small auction only happens once every half a year. If we miss this one, we will have to wait for another half a year. How can we borrow money? At this moment, no warrior wanted to borrow money. After all, they only had around 50,000 gold. If they were short of 1,000 gold, they would lose a lot of confidence. It was not wise to lend money to others. In the end, the Qing Yuan palm manual fell into the hands of the ferocious-looking warrior for 40,000 gold. The second item, 3 groups of low-rank soul stones, 100 in each group. They will be auctioned separately. The starting price for each group is 20,000 gold, and each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. Start. The elder in yellow robes lifted the silk cloth and announced loudly as the gold-inlaid wooden plate was placed on the stage. What? Low-rank soul stones? I haven't used low-rank soul stones for a long time. This time, I have to get a set. With low-rank soul stones, I might be able to reach the late condensing reality realm in a short time. It is priceless. 100 low-rank soul stones are enough for me to use for more than a year. Off the stage, all the warriors who didn't belong to any martial schools went crazy. They all breathed heavily, their eyes were bloodshot as they stared at the low-rank soul stones on the stage. They just wanted to go up there and snatch them away. 22,000 gold. 25,000 gold. 28,000 gold. 30,000 gold. The price of the first group of low-rank soul stones rose sharply. The elder in yellow robes stood on the stage with a smile on his face. The higher the price of the item, the more stable his position would be, and the higher his salary would be. Soon, the first group of low-rank soul stones was bought by an extremely ugly warrior for 35,000 gold. The bidding for the second group of low-rank soul stones began. Perhaps it was because there was one less group, but some of the cultivators who had been watching from the sidelines couldn't help but join in the bidding. This caused the price of the second group of low-grade spirit stones to quickly surpass the first group. It reached 38,000 gold taels and was won by a middle-aged cultivator. When it was the third group's turn, the scene was completely heated up. Those cultivators who didn't manage to get the low-grade spirit stones earlier desperately put in all their belongings, vowing to win the last group of low-grade spirit stones. In the private room, Yi Chen was also shocked. He thought that a low-rank soul stone would be worth 250 gold, but he never thought that it would be worth nearly 400 gold. Didn't that mean that the 10,000 low-rank soul stones in his storage ring were worth 4 million gold? 40,000 gold going once, 40,000 gold going twice, 40,000 gold going thrice. Sold. Congratulations to this martial artist. The elder in yellow let out a sigh of relief after the third group of low-rank soul stones had been sold. It seemed that low-rank soul stones were in high demand. Unfortunately, the lowest price of the auction in the Northwest auction house was 20,000 gold. Otherwise, they could be separated into groups of 10. In this way, those warriors who didn't have enough wealth would definitely try their best to fight for them, even if it was 500 gold per piece. After all 3 groups of low-rank soul stones had been delivered to the buyers, the elder in yellow cleared his throat and said with a loud voice, Next is the third item, the ancient half of a sword. Shoo! The silk cloth was lifted up, revealing the upper half of the sword in front of everyone. Perhaps it was because it was too old and broken, the sword still looked dim under the crystal light. Damn! What the hell is this? What is this thing? Half of a sword, even if it was originally a mid-rank treasure, it would not be valuable anymore. Who would want to bid for it? Look. Maybe there is something hidden in it. No one could tell what was going on. Their eyes landed on the elder in yellow, wanting to hear his explanation. The elder in yellow was prepared for this. He reached out his hand and picked up the sword and said, according to the appraisal experts of our auction house, this half of the sword is 500 years old. In other words, this is an antique with 500 years of history. In addition, 500 years ago, it might have been a top-rank great sword, but for some unknown reason, it was broken by someone and lost its spirit. A 500 years old antique, a top-rank great sword. What a pity. If it was still in good condition, some of the people from the Windy Nation and even the South Rudra region would definitely come to fight for it. A broken top-rank great sword with no spirit. Why would they want to buy it? Maybe some antique collectors would go and bid for it. Anyway, it has nothing to do with us. Yeah, let's just watch from the sidelines. Let's see what this broken thing is like. Hearing the comments from the audience, the elder in yellow smiled bitterly. This half of the sword indeed did not have any practical use. It only had 500 years of history left. Hopefully, it could be sold for a good price. Of course, there was nothing that could be done if it could not be sold. The previous 2 rounds of publicity had already been done. Whether it lived or died would depend on the next round. Is this the other half of the broken sword? In the private room, Yi Chen's eyes shone with a bright light. He stared at the half of the sword on the stone auction stage without blinking. This half of the sword was also dull. Its width was the same as the broken sword that he had bought at the Nine Cauldron Pavilion. Even the crack was almost the same. Only the middle part was missing. If he was not mistaken, the 2 parts were originally one, but they were separated due to various reasons. Now, the bidding begins. The starting price is 20,000 gold. Each increment must be no less than 1,000 gold. The elder in yellow looked around and took a deep breath before saying loudly. There was a moment of silence. I bid 21,000 gold. The one who spoke was an elder in his 70s. He had a grey beard and was wearing an old-fashioned black robe. Someone recognized the elder's identity. He was one of the few antique collectors in the Forgotten City. He loved to buy strange things and put them in his house for his own appreciation. He would not allow others to see them even if they wanted to. Even his own family members were no exception. He was known as an old-fashioned old man. In the private room, Yi Chen did not rush to bid. He had to keep his composure. Otherwise, it would easily arouse others' suspicions if he attacked fiercely. There was silence in the hall. No one made a bid. The elder in yellow knew that it was time to liven up the atmosphere. 21,000 gold. Who wants to bid a higher price? Don't forget, this half of the sword could be a fragment of a high-grade sword. Even if it has lost its spirituality, we might still be able to find something useful in it. Moreover, it has 500 years of history. It's really a long history. The hall was still silent. At this moment, Yi Chen raised the plate in his hand. 22,000 gold. Good. Someone has increased the price. Good eyes. Who else wants to bid? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The elder in yellow said excitedly. 30,000 gold. This time, it was not the elder collector who bid. It was Ouyang Ming who was in the 3rd private room next door. Tang Manlu asked doubtfully, Brother Ouyang, is this half of the sword very important? Ouyang Ming said calmly, it's nothing. It's good to buy it for my collection. After all, this small amount of money is nothing. Chapter 88. 30,000 taels of gold, someone is raising the price again. What are you waiting for? The yellow-clothed old man's voice was even louder. The price of 30,000 taels of gold had already reached his estimation. Even if no one continued to raise the price, He was already satisfied. The old collector raised his board, 31,000 taels. 32,000 taels. Yi Chen also raised the price. Ouyang Ming disdainfully smiled, 40,000 taels. I won't raise the price. Although this thing is to my liking, it is not worth this price. It is better to buy other antiques. The old collector gave up on raising the price. You should have given up a long time ago. Isn't it just half a sword? Why spend tens of thousands of taels of gold? The warrior beside him laughed. What do you know? As long as it is an antique, there is a research value. Okay, I don't know, but you do. In the private room, Yi Chen frowned and raised the price to 41,000 taels. Wu Zongming was confused. Yi Chen, what's wrong with you? There are still many treasures after this. There is no need to waste money on this broken thing. Do you really think you can find something from it? Without its spirituality, this half of the sword is about the same value as a normal treasure sword. Yi Chen said, since we are here to participate in the auction, we have to buy something back. Hehe, I can't do anything to you. Wu Zongming shook his head. 50,000 taels. Ouyang Ming raised his board. This amount of gold was nothing to him. He had been an inner disciple for many years and had completed hundreds of missions. His accumulated wealth had reached a terrifying level. Even some of the middle-class families might not be as rich as him. A mere 50,000 taels of gold was nothing to him. The yellow-clothed old man's heart almost jumped out of his chest. This was too inconceivable. The half of the sword that he thought no one was interested in was actually sold for 50,000 taels of gold. It was far beyond his estimation. Moreover, it seemed that the other side did not plan to give up. Below the stage, everyone also felt that it was very strange, but they were not very surprised. Every time there was an auction, there would always be some dark horse. Some worthless things would be auctioned for a very high price, while some valuable treasures could not be sold. Another two rich people who have nowhere to go, someone said enviously. 80% of them are sect disciples. These people are really rich. Sigh, it's a pity that we're not talented enough. Otherwise, we would have entered the sect long ago. Now, we could at least become outer sect elders. How impressive. That's enough. They're raising the price again. 55,000 taels. Yi Chen added another 5,000 taels. 60,000. 65,000. 70,000. 80,000. 90,000. Yi Chen's expression was very ugly. He had originally thought that no one would bid for the half-sword until now. Who would have thought that things would go against his wishes? Instead, the price had risen all the way to 90,000. He really didn't know if that person was deliberately trying to join in on the fun, or if he really wanted to buy it. Raising his sign, Yi Chen bid, 100,000 taels. Suck. Everyone on the scene gasped. 100,000 taels of gold was not a small amount. Many mid-condensing reality realm warriors would not be able to earn this amount even after 10 years of hard work. After all, warriors spent a lot of money, and they would never try to save money when it came to buying pellets. Although 100,000 taels of gold is not a big deal, there is no need for me to continue bidding. It's not like I have much use for it anyway. I'll just keep it as a collection. Plus, I've tricked that person. I think that person would feel bad about it. Ouyang Ming sat on the demonic beast leather chair with a faint smile on his face as he teased. A disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School said flatteringly, if we knew who that person was, we would definitely ask him to treat us. Brother Ouyang has already given him a lot of face. Yeah, when the auction is over, let's go and see who that person is. Ouyang Ming said, you guys, don't be so quick to jump to conclusions. I don't want him to treat us. Just ask him to lend me the half-sword for a few days. Hearing Ouyang Ming, Li Ling bitterly smiled. She thought to herself, that person better not go against second brother. Otherwise, he will suffer a lot. In the whole Windy Nation, there were not many people who could go against second brother. 100,000 taels going once, 100,000 taels going twice, 100,000 taels going thrice, sold. Congratulations to the VIP in room number 7, this half-sword will be delivered to you immediately. The elder in yellow was so happy that he looked like he had just picked up 100,000 taels of gold. Soon, the pretty girl walked in with the half-sword in her hands. "TSK, TSK, even this piece of junk is worth 100,000 taels of gold." Wu Zongming only took a glance at it, then lost interest. Yi Chen handed the pretty girl 10 gold notes worth 10,000 taels of gold each, then took the half-sword from her and threw it into his storage ring. Yi Chen scanned the sword with his soul power. He thought to himself, these two are indeed one, but there is still a small part missing. I wonder if I can gather them all. Yi Chen could vaguely hear a loud laughter coming out of the half-sword. It was so ancient that it left a deep impression on him. He knew that there must be something special about it, otherwise, he would not have spent 100,000 taels of gold to buy it. The fourth item is 3 Zhenzhen pellets. I think everyone knows what they can do. That's right, they can increase a condensing reality realm warrior's cultivation by 50%, and the side effects are very small. Besides that, you can take this pellet 3 times in a row. The first time is 50% chance, the second time is 30% chance, and the third time is 10% chance. Whoever can buy 3 of these pellets will definitely be able to increase his or her cultivation by 1 level, unless he or she is very unlucky. After the previous surprise, the real hot item officially appeared on the stage. It was the Zhenzhen pellet that Wu Zongming had been dreaming of. There were 3 of them in total, and each of them was priceless, especially for those warriors with low talent. The 3 pellets will be auctioned separately. The starting price will be 30,000 taels of gold, and each bid must be at least 2,000 taels of gold. Wu Zongming could not wait any longer. He raised his sign and said, 50,000 taels of gold. Buzz. Everyone in the auction house was confused by this price. Who is this guy? Why did he bid such a high price at the beginning? Is he trying to kill us all? Some of the warriors who were not rich enough were gritting their teeth, but they could not do anything about it. They were not as rich as him, otherwise, they could have just bid 1,000,000 taels of gold, and see who would dare to compete. 55,000 taels. After a moment of silence, someone started to bid. Wu Zongming grinned, 70,000 taels, 80,000 taels. A martial disciple started to bid 100,000 taels. Wu Zongming continued to bid 120,000 taels, 150,000 taels. In the end, the first Zhenzhen pellet fell into Wu Zongming's hands, which shocked everyone. Martial disciples were indeed martial disciples. They were all extremely rich. The starting price of the pellet was 30,000 taels of gold, but it was raised to 150,000 taels of gold, which made them feel completely hopeless. The second pellet was not as popular. It was bought by someone who looked like a martial disciple for 130,000 taels of gold. The third pellet was raised again. It reached 160,000 taels of gold. It was also bought by a martial disciple. The elder in yellow was very satisfied with this result. He cleared his throat and said, "Next up is the most important item, a low-rank Earth Realm martial skill manual." What? A low-rank Earth Realm martial skill? Are you kidding me? Including the guests in the private room, everyone was shocked. Chapter 89. Don't be surprised, the 5th item is indeed a low-rank Earth Realm martial skill manual. The seller is a clasping Yuan realm martial artist, who is quite famous in the northern part of the Windy Nation. But of course, we can't reveal his name, as it violates the rules of the auction house. Let's cut to the chase. This low-rank Earth Realm martial skill is a leg martial skill, called the Killing Tyrant Kick. If you master this martial skill, you will be able to stop the flow of a river with a single kick, and if you master this martial skill, you will be able to shatter a 100-meter-tall mountain with a single kick. It is said that when you master this martial skill, the air will no longer be an obstacle, and your speed will reach an unimaginable level. You will be able to cover 100 meters with a single step. The old man in yellow didn't want to keep people in suspense. He explained everything in one breath. Boom. The auction house was boiling. The VIP guests in the private rooms who had been indifferent all this time started to breathe faster. Stopping the flow of a river, shattering a mountain, covering 100 meters with a single step, it was already very rare to have one of these 3 skills, let alone combining them into one. A low-rank Earth Realm martial skill was indeed incomparable to a top-rank Mortal Realm martial skill. It had reached a whole new level. Yi Chen didn't care too much about the first two skills, because the Tyrant Fist could also do the same. But the third one was even more shocking. Covering 100 meters with a single step was much more terrifying than leaping 100 meters. After all, leaping would take at least a few steps, not to mention the fact that the killing Tyrant Kick was not only about speed. This leg martial skill manual is mine. Inside the private room, Ouyang Ming made up his mind. Although he already had a low-rank martial skill manual, it was only a martial skill manual. Both the leg and blade arts were top-rank Mortal Realm martial skills, and of course, they were the best of the best. The starting price is 100,000 gold, each bid must be at least 10,000 gold, start bidding. 120,000 gold. 130,000 gold. 150,000. 180,000. The price of the martial skill kept rising. All the martial artists who didn't belong to any martial institution were stunned. Ouyang Ming sneered, he raised the wooden sign and shouted, 250,000 gold. Who is in that private room? He just increased the price by 70,000 gold, he is so rich. A martial artist curiously asked. I saw Ouyang Ming from the Purple Sun Martial School enter that private room before, it should be him. No wonder, among the young generation of the Windy Nation, only a few people could surpass Ouyang Ming in terms of wealth, such as young Master Emerald, young Master Duanmu, and young Master North Snow. In this auction, there are also disciples who are as famous as Ouyang Ming. For example, North Snow Fast Blade Lynch is also here. Lynch, it's said that he has the potential to surpass Child North Snow and become the #1 disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy. It's impossible for now, but who knows in the future? Just as everyone was discussing spiritedly, another bid sounded out. 300,000 taels. The voice was slightly deep, and it came from the second private room. Ouyang Ming remained calm, 350,000 taels. 400,000. 450,000 taels. That person quickly followed. 500,000 taels. To be honest, even Yi Chen was startled by this price. He thought to himself, the voice of the person who followed the bid is very deep, it should be a middle-aged man. A middle-aged man with 500,000 taels of gold, he must be a clasping Yuan realm martial artist. After all, apart from the top martial artists of the Windy Nation, very few condensing reality realm martial artists would be able to bid 500,000 taels of gold. The other person was the young man who was competing with him for half of the sword. He was most likely a core disciple of some big martial institution, and Yi Chen was sure that he had heard of his name before, it was just that he couldn't recognize his voice. 600,000 taels. Ouyang Ming raised his voice. 700,000 taels. 800,000 taels. 900,000 taels. That person didn't even budge an inch. Hee. Ouyang Ming laughed, his face had a trace of ferociousness, which made Tang Manlu and Li Ling's hair stand on end. They knew that Ouyang Ming was angry, but that middle-aged man was obviously not a kind person. He was most likely a clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Unless the elders of the Purple Sun Martial School came, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Taking a deep breath, Ouyang Ming roared, 1,200,000 taels. Standing next to Yi Chen, Wu Zongming said with jealousy, this martial institution's disciple is so rich, although I haven't heard his voice, but it's very likely that he is one of the 3 big steps of the younger generation in the Windy Nation. Compared to him, we are so poor, so poor. Do more missions, and save up for a few years, you will also have the same amount of money. A few years later, he will have even more money. Never mind, the most important thing is to improve our cultivation, the money will come sooner or later. Yi Chen didn't say anything, he started to think, the more money he had, the better. In the future, when there was a large-scale auction, he was afraid that even 1 or 2 million taels of gold would not be enough. He seemed to have more than 10,000 low-rank soul stones, but if he really had to exchange them for gold, he would feel a bit sad. 1,300,000 taels. The price continued to rise. Ouyang Ming gritted his teeth and said, 1,500,000 taels. 1,600,000 taels. That middle-aged man's tone was the same, There was no change in his tone. Damn it. Ouyang Ming smashed the rosewood table with his palm, his eyes were bloodshot. If it weren't for the fact that he still had to compete for that great blade, he wouldn't be so angry. Now that he had used so much gold, how could he compete with Lynch? After all, Lynch's wealth was not much less than his. 1,800,000 taels. Ouyang Ming decided to fight again. He hoped that Lynch would back off, otherwise, when he reached the clasping yuan realm in the future, he would definitely kill this person. A calm voice came, 2 million taels. If I don't kill this person, I, Ouyang Ming, will not be satisfied. Veins popped out on his forehead. Ouyang Ming squeezed out a beast-like roar from his throat. The old man in yellow didn't care about this, he only cared about the price. According to the real value of this martial skill book, it was only about 500,000 taels, it was definitely not more than 100,000 taels. Now that the price had doubled, it was 2 million taels of gold. How could he not be happy? 2 million taels going once, 2 million taels going twice, sold. After the climax, the next part was a bit low-key. The style of the Northwest auction house was different from other places. Normally, it was divided into 3 rounds. The first round was used to liven up the atmosphere and arouse people's emotions. The second round's items were not as valuable as the first round's items, but there were a lot more of them. There were dozens of items, and each of them had different values. The lowest one was no more than 20,000 taels of gold, while the highest one was more than 100,000 taels of gold. All in all, those martial artists who didn't belong to any martial institution were waiting for this moment. They were all bidding in full swing, competing for the items that they wanted. The third round had begun. Different from the previous 2 rounds, the third round's items were all treasures. The starting price was more than 50,000 taels of gold, some of them were even more valuable than the martial skill book. The 68th item, the low-rank Great Blade, the space-splitting blade. The real climax was about to begin. In the private room, Lin Chi opened his eyes that had been closed all this time. His sharp gaze seemed to have materialized, flashing randomly in the void like streaks of illusory blade light that could steal one's soul. Chapter 90. The elder reached out his hand and picked up the sheathed great saber from the wooden plate, then slowly pulled it out. All of a sudden, a beam of silver light flashed, and the saber chi shot up into the sky, seeming like it could cut people's souls. The huge auction stage was filled with coldness. Good saber. This saber is not just a low-rank great saber anymore, it is close to a mid-rank great saber. Inside the private room, an elder in grey robes said with greed in his eyes. Yi Chen thought of something. The air-shattering saber in the elder's hand did not seem to be as powerful as the tiger head saber he got from the underground world. It had the same saber chi and sharp edge. If he needed money in the future, he could sell it to the auction house. The air-shattering saber, the saber of the Blade Marquis 100 years ago. It is 4 feet and 2 inches long, and its widest part is 2 and 3 inches. The back of the saber is half an inch thick, and the handle is 7 inches long. It can generate saber chi and increase the power of the user. The starting price is 300,000 silvers, and each increment must be no less than 50,000 silvers. You can start now. Putting the great saber back into the sheath, the elder in yellow put the air-shattering saber back on the wooden plate, then looked around. Seeing that everyone was staring at the air-shattering saber, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. 1 million silvers. In the 6th private room, Lynch raised his wooden plate. 1,500,000 silvers. The elder in grey robes followed. Ouyang Ming was a bit surprised by the bidder, but of course, he would not give up on the air-shattering saber. He yelled, 2 million silvers. Did I hear it right? It has only been 3 bids, and it has already reached 2 million gold. North Snow Quick Blade Lynch and Little Godly Leg Ouyang Ming both made their bids. I wonder who the other elder is. I know. That elder is called Blade Old Man. He is at the early clasping yuan realm, and he is quite famous in the martial world. I wonder how many people he has killed with his saber art. Blade Old Man? I remember now. Quick Blade Wu Wanshan used to be his teacher. But for some reason, they parted ways. I did not expect to see him here. Wu Wanshan is probably as powerful as Blade Old Man now. But North Snow Quick Blade Lynch is even more powerful. He beat Wu Wanshan with only 10 attacks. Don't underestimate Blade Old Man. Haven't you heard that the older ginger is the spicier? This person has been active for decades, so he must have countless trump cards. Lynch's expression remained the same. 3 million. Little brat, you have quite a lot of wealth. I'll let you show off for a while, but when we get out of Forgotten City, the air-splitting blade will be mine. The grey-robed old man, Dao Su, was reluctant to spend so much gold to bid for the sky-splitter saber. He felt that it was a waste. It would be better to wait for someone else to bid for it, then secretly follow them and kill them to get the treasure. In any case, it was not the first time he had done something like this. With one less competitor, Ouyang Yangming felt much more relaxed. Just like Lynch, he increased the price by 1 million taels, reaching a sky-high price of 4 million taels. 5 million. Without even thinking about it, Lynch continued to raise the price, as if the gold he had on him was just a broken stone that wouldn't hurt him no matter how much he threw out. 5,500,000 taels. Ouyang Ming felt that he had underestimated Lynch. 5 million taels was the highest price he could offer, of which 30% was borrowed from rushing Thunderhand Ouyang Lai. 5,500,000 taels. Lynch had also reached his limit, he only added 50,000 taels of gold. Turning his head, Ouyang Ming said to the people around him, "Lend me all the gold you have, I'll pay you back 4 times in the future." Li Ling said, "I still have 20,000 taels left from the 2 items I bought earlier. I still have 20,000 taels left. 35,000 taels." After pooling everything, Ouyang Yangming managed to come up with an extra 100,000 taels of gold. He invested all of it and shouted, 5,650,000 taels. Lynch frowned, then he remembered that before he left, Junior Sister Mai gave him a small bag, and asked him to open it at a critical moment. Taking out the bag and opening it, Lynch showed a rare smile. Although he looked ordinary, his smile was like that of a child, pure and flawless. 5,700,000 taels. Lynch raised the price again. Hearing that, Ouyang Ming was stunned. Impossible, how can he still have the energy? Tang Manlu and Li Ling looked at each other. They felt that Lynch's price was just like his knife skill, unpredictable and unexpected. In the end, the air-splitting blade fell into Lynch's hand. 5,700,000 taels, this is too much, how can we live? Look, Lynch came out, it seems like he is going to leave. I heard that he came here for the air-splitting blade, it's normal for him to leave, it would be a waste of time if he stayed. Hey, Dao Su is following him, is he going to kill him for the treasure? It's possible, but is he not afraid of the North Snow Martial Academy's revenge? It seems like you don't know Dao Su well, he is always reckless, and his whereabouts are uncertain. Maybe he will escape to another country after killing Lynch, and the North Snow Martial Academy might not be able to find him. Some people noticed what happened, they started to discuss with each other in low voices. Lynch's departure did not cause too much of a commotion, the auction continued. The 79th item was a low-rank Earth Realm martial art manual, but it was an auxiliary one. It was called the Limitless Universe Art. It could stabilize Jin Qi and suppress Jin Qi. It sounded normal, but a lot of powerful martial artists did not think so. When a martial artist made a breakthrough, their Jin Qi would be unstable, and their cultivation would be unstable. But if a martial artist trained the Limitless Universe Art, this would not be a problem. Besides, when fighting with other martial artists, it could also suppress the scattered Jin Qi, and increase the endurance of the battle, which could be fatal for martial artists with similar cultivation. Therefore, no matter from which aspect, the Limitless Universe Art was more valuable than the Sky-Killing Kick Art, since the latter was a martial skill, and the true Spirit Continent did not lack martial skills. However, the Limitless Universe Art was an auxiliary martial art, it was very rare, and even big martial institutions would not have it. Its starting price was 200,000 taels, which was twice the price of the Sky-Killing Kick Art. 500,000 taels. The clasping Yuan realm martial artist who had bought the Sky-Killing Kick Art made his bid again. Ouyang Ming sneered, I can't get the air-shattering blade anymore, so I am not afraid of you. But the air-shattering blade will be mine sooner or later. That elder in grey is obviously a clasping Yuan realm martial artist. I am afraid he is up to no good by following Lynch. As long as he kills Lynch, I will have plenty of ways to get the air-shattering blade from him. Ouyang Ming calmed himself down, raised his plate, 3 million. The whole place was silent. The clasping Yuan realm martial artist did not say anything. Seeing that no one else was bidding, Ouyang Ming smiled. 4 million. A clear female voice was heard. It was calm. It is Xu Jing. Yi Chen blurted out. Wu Zhongming was shocked. Are you sure it is senior sister Xu Jing? Yi Chen nodded. I have met senior sister Xu Jing before. I have talked to her for a while. Senior sister Xu Jing is currently ranked 8th among the core disciples. I heard that she is way more powerful than that. I wonder if it is true. Should be. When he accidentally saw Xu Jing training, Yi Chen thought he had seen her power. He thought she only had 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of strength, but she was quite powerful. But now, he did not think so. As his cultivation level increased, he recalled that scene. He was sure that she did not use all of her power. She had only used 30% of it at most. It was the power that was stored inside her body. Chapter 91. Xu Jing's unexpected appearance made Ouyang Ming's face turn green. It seemed like he did not check the almanac when he left the house today. Not only did he not get the air-killing kick manual, he did not get the air-splitting blade, and now, he even lost the limitless heaven and earth art. I don't believe that I can't get the limitless heaven and earth art. Ouyang Ming shouted in his heart and increased the bid to 5 million. Xu Jing's voice was flat as she said to her 3 junior sisters in the same private room, lend me all your money. Senior sister, I'll lend it to you. You can't let Ouyang Ming get the limitless heaven and earth art. The female disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School were all very beautiful. They each took out a stack of gold notes and gave them to Xu Jing. After counting the gold notes, Xu Jing raised her head. 6 million. Okay, 6 million. This has broken the record of the previous small auctions. Who else wants to bid? You should know that the limitless heaven and earth art is very rare to see. If you lose this opportunity, it will be very difficult to get it again. The elder in yellow added fuel to the fire on the stage. Unfortunately, no matter how much he talked, no one continued to raise the price. 6 million taels of gold was too high. There were many big clans in Forgotten City, but they did not have the means to transfer so much gold at once. Moreover, the infinite heaven and earth skill was only an auxiliary skill. It could not directly increase one's combat power. Spending 6 million taels of gold to buy it was not worth it. Good steel should be used on the blade. However, Xu Jing was different. Although this heaven and earth limitless technique couldn't increase her battle prowess, it would be of great help to her in the future. After breaking through to the next realm, she didn't need to worry about the phenomenon of her true qi being unstable anymore. Imperceptibly, it would shorten the cultivation time needed to advance again. Shaking his head, the elder in yellow knew that 6 million gold was the end of the line. 6 million going once. 6 million going twice. Sold. Congratulations to the lady in room 12. Without him saying anything, someone sent the limitless heaven and earth art to her. What made Tang Manlu and Li Ling feel strange was that the angry Ouyang Ming calmed down. His eyes were deep and cold, but no one knew what he was thinking. There were 3 other treasures left, and all of them were sold at a sky-high price. However, the highest price was only 4,500,000 gold. It could not exceed the price of the air-splitting blade and the limitless heaven and earth art. The auction ended successfully, and everyone left the room. Opening the door, Yi Chen said, "Let's go." Picking up a grape and throwing it into his mouth, Wu Zhongming was in a good mood. He could not wait to go back to the Sky Cloud Martial School and take the Zhenqi pellet. The two walked out of the private room and headed for the exit. "Little brat, so you are a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School." At the entrance, there were 5 young men standing there. Tang Manlu and Li Ling were among them, and the other 3 were new faces. The leading young man was wearing a purple and gold robe. He had long legs and was about 1. 9 meters tall. Yi Chen asked indifferently, "What's the matter?" "Nothing much. My senior brother Ouyang wants to invite you to the Fortune Immortal restaurant for a drink. I hope you can give him some face." One of them said sinisterly. "Sorry, I'm busy." Yi Chen took 2 steps to the side and was about to leave. That man stopped Yi Chen. "What? You don't even want to give me face? If senior brother Ouyang did not give you that half of the sword, do you think you could have gotten it?" On the side, Ouyang Yangming sneered. He did not want to cause trouble for Yi Chen, he only wanted to know who the female disciples were. After asking around, he found out that there were 4 of them. 3 of them were wearing the inner disciple uniform of the Sky Cloud Martial School, and the last one also had the symbol of the Sky Cloud Martial School on his sleeve. Seeing that Yi Chen was also from the Sky Cloud Martial School, he immediately came up with a plan. Wu Zhongming rolled his eyes and said, "You guys did not get any treasures in the auction because you are not capable enough. What does it have to do with us? Do you think we need you to give it to us?" "Mph, senior brother Ouyang invited you for a drink because he thinks highly of you. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." Another Purple Sun Martial School inner disciple said in a deep voice. Yi Chen thought it was Tang Manlu who was causing trouble, but it seemed like it was not the case. He said indifferently, "Move, don't block the way." Just when the 2 were about to lose their temper, Ouyang Yangming said, "Among the young generation of the Windy Nation, many people want to invite me for a drink, but it is very difficult. Today, I, Ouyang Yangming, invite people for a drink. Even if you don't want to go, you have no choice." How arrogant. I would like to see how the godly legs Ouyang Yangming is going to invite us Sky Cloud Martial School disciples for a drink. Behind Yi Chen and Wu Zhongming, Xu Jing's voice came. "Senior Sister Xu." Yi Chen and Wu Zhongming nodded. Xu Jing walked in the front, followed by 3 Sky Cloud Martial School female disciples. Ouyang Yangming squinted his eyes. "Late condensing reality realm, no wonder you are so arrogant. But it is still not enough. Your head senior sister Zhu Mai is qualified to talk to me on equal footing. Senior sister Zhu Mai is not here, only I, Xu Jing, am here." Xu Jing was not very tall. Yi Chen estimated that she was about 1.7 meters. She was wearing a white dress and had a beautiful body. Her eyebrows were slightly curved, but her aura was not any weaker than Ouyang Yangming's. There was a kind of unique aggressiveness hidden in her aura. "Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to brother Ouyang Yangming like that?" The entrance of the Northwest Auction House was very wide, it was about 10 meters wide. The inner disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School, who had just spoken, did not do anything. He pushed out his palm, and his Zhenqi formed a huge red ring, covering Xu Jing's body. "Piss off." Xu Jing took a step forward, and the surrounding space seemed to vibrate, giving people the illusion that they could not stand steadily. Her blood and qi were boiling, and soon after, a thick and dazzling golden light gushed out, instantly shattering the giant red ring and causing the opponent to vomit blood. How could she be so powerful? They are both at the late condensing reality realm, but her opponent could not even withstand a single attack. He is not even qualified to be attacked by Sister Xu Jing. Wu Zhongmin saw that Xu Jing took a step forward and broke her opponent's attack, causing him to puke out blood. He was shocked. Yi Chen was also a bit surprised. Xu Jing, who had reached the late condensing reality realm, was even more powerful than he had imagined. The entrance was too eye-catching. The fight between the 2 attracted a lot of warriors. "Look, it's the Sky Cloud Martial School and the Purple Sun Martial School disciples. They are fighting. Little godly legs Ouyang Yangming has failed again and again. How could he let it go? He will definitely find trouble with the owner of the Limitless Universe art. Unfortunately, there is no one among these Sky Cloud Martial School disciples who can control the situation." Not necessarily. That Sky Cloud Martial School female disciple just took a step and blew her opponent away. Ouyang Yangming did not make a move, otherwise it would be hard for her opponent to fight back. Other than the warriors who were attracted by the fight, the people of the Northwest Auction House also noticed the fight. Soon, the elder in yellow pushed through the crowd, walked over and said, "You guys, the Northwest Auction House does not allow fighting, Please give us some face, otherwise, it will be hard to explain. Other than being an auctioneer, the elder in yellow was also an early clasping Yuan realm warrior. As he spoke, he sent out a wave of Zhen Qi, forming an invisible Qi wall. Oyu Yangming knew that it would be hard to fight here, so he nodded and said with a smile, "Of course not, I just wanted to invite these few people for a drink. Since they are busy, I will not force them. Let's go." After the elder left, Xu Jing said to Yi Chen and Wu Zongming, "It is not safe on the road, you guys should come with us." Once the owner left, the others had no reason to stay. Trouble solved, the elder in yellow smiled bitterly. Although martial school disciples were one of the most popular customers of the auction house, they were also the most troublesome ones. Chapter 92. On the northwest plain, 6 riders were running at full speed. I can't believe that after a year, you have not only become an inner disciple, but also reached the mid-condensing reality realm. Xu Jing, who was riding beside Yi Chen, said casually. Yi Chen said, "How can I compare to you, sister? I think even if Ouyang Ming were to fight you, he would not be able to win. I have no confidence against him. He is after all at the peak of the late condensing reality realm, he has more experience than me. Even Sister Zhu Mai said that he has hidden his strength well, and has the ambition to challenge the 3 young masters. Let's not talk about him, your power should be higher than the mid-condensing reality realm. You are full of qi and blood, full of profound qi, this is a sign of having more than 10,000 pounds of strength." Xu Jing could tell that Yi Chen was different at first glance. Yi Chen asked curiously, "How can you tell?" "This is a secret qi and blood circulation technique, it can tell if the opponent's qi and blood is strong or not. Normally, if one has more than 10,000 pounds of profound qi, then one would have more profound qi, and if one has more than 100,000 pounds of profound qi, then one would have more profound qi, which would be like a smoke signal, which would not be able to get close to it. Even without this technique, one could still sense it. There is such a thing. I am indeed ignorant." Yi Chen was shocked. 1,000,000 pounds of strength gathered on a small human body, how terrifying would that be? It would be enough to shatter everything in the world, pull up mountains, and pierce through the earth's crust. Xu Jing said, "It is not that you are ignorant, but a lot of people do not know about this. I only read about it from an ancient scroll. It said that 10,000 years ago, there was a martial institution called the Vast Expanse Martial School. Everyone in the school trained their bodies. 10,000 pounds of strength would make you a servant disciple, 30,000 pounds of strength would make you an outer disciple, 50,000 pounds of strength would make you an inner disciple, 80,000 pounds of strength would make you an inner disciple, 200,000 pounds of strength would make you an inner disciple, 300,000 pounds of strength would make you an outer master, and 300,000 pounds of strength would make you an inner master." Wu Zongming and the other female disciples were all fascinated by the story, but they were still doubtful. Is there really someone in this world who could train their strength to more than 500,000 pounds? Where is the Vast Expanse sect? Has it been destroyed? Yi Chen asked. Xu Jing nodded. It seems that the heavens did not allow the Vast Expanse school to exist. In a single night, the school was razed to the ground, and someone found a dragon scale in the ruins. It was the size of a wash basin, and could cut through iron like mud. It was incomparably sharp. Rumor has it that a divine dragon descended upon the world and destroyed the entire Vast Expanse school. That dragon scale was left behind after the Vast Expanse school's leader and several great elders fought against the divine dragon. Divine dragon, that's ridiculous. That is the legendary existence that surpasses the life and death realm. They are immortal and can roam the Taishu. A female disciple exclaimed. Xu Jing narrowed her eyes. The world is so big that it is not something you can understand. Even those life and death realm warriors could not understand it, let alone us. Yi Chen smiled bitterly. With his strength, he was only a servant disciple in the Vast Expanse sect, not even an outer sect disciple. He really had no idea how the people in the Vast Expanse sect cultivated. Half a day passed by, and it was already noon. The few of them had already flown to the center of the northwest plains. As far as the eye could see, the sky and the plains formed a line. There was no end to it, and the white clouds were getting bigger and bigger until they reached the sky above their heads. There are horse hooves. Yi Chen's ears twitched as he heard the sound. Xu Jing nodded. It's earlier than I thought. Wu Zhongming felt strange and asked, Senior sister, you know that someone is looking for trouble with us? Ouyang Yangming is inextricably linked to the bandits in the Northwest Plains. He often makes use of them to besiege and kill disciples from the sects that oppose him. This isn't the first time, and it won't be the last. I just don't know which group of bandits came. Damn it, they are actually colluding with the horse bandits of the Northwest Plains. The 3 female disciples were furious. Xu Jing looked at the large black dots that were gathering from all directions, and said, What's so strange about it? Everyone has their own way of doing things. Some are cunning and despicable, some are righteous, and some are cruel. There are too many of them. But as long as they have a clear mind and don't have any inner demons, anyone can cultivate to a very high level, and it has nothing to do with their character. What a brilliant idea! Yi Chen thought. Da. The continuous horse hooves gradually became louder, and everyone could already see the clothes and faces of the horse bandits in front of them. I said kill them. Then you guys break out of here, and I will cover you. Xu Jing said with a decisive tone. Senior sister, cut the crap, there are clasping Yuan realm martial artists among them, we can't fight them. The horses were very fast, and within a few blinks of an eye, they had already arrived in front of everyone. There were more than 50 horse bandits, and 7 or 8 of them had strong Zhenqi vibrations. Obviously, they were late condensing reality realm martial artists. The leader had a face full of stubble, and his Zhenqi was condensed into a single point, which was extremely pure. He was definitely a clasping Yuan realm martial artist. When the horse bandits were only 30 steps away from them, Xu Jing yelled, break through, kill them, Xu. As she yelled, Xu Jing's body turned into a golden light. Ignoring the distance of 30 steps, she punched 2 late condensing reality realm martial artists in the chest. Yi Chen's speed was not slow at all. He pushed his crane shadow steps to its limit, and his whole body had already disappeared into the air. After that, a late condensing reality realm horse bandit's head exploded, turning into a blood mist. Wu Zhongming and the 3 female disciples knew that they were not as powerful as the others, so they gathered together and tried their best to break through to the west. The leader of the horse bandits saw that 3 of his subordinates had died in the blink of an eye. He roared and jumped towards Xu Jing. His thick Zhenqi had shaved off a layer of the ground, and he moved at lightning speed. Monster-killing fist, shaking the heavens and earth. Xu Jing did not back off, her 2 fists were like a giant devil splitting a mountain, and she faced the leader of the horse bandits head-on. Puff, puff, puff. This time, the surrounding horse bandits suffered greatly. They were all blown away by the shockwave, puking out a huge mouthful of blood in the air. Taking 3 steps back, Xu Jing looked calm, but her movements were wild. Her white robe fluttered in the wind as she charged towards the leader of the horse bandits again, throwing out a powerful punch. On the other side, Yi Chen was surrounded by 3 late condensing reality realm horse bandits. Little brat, go to hell, kill the wolf. Flash spear. Ghost cry and wolf howl. The 3 of them each used their unique attacks. They wanted to kill Yi Chen together. Yi Chen's body blurred, he casually flashed and dodged the attacks of the 3 bandits. In the middle of the attack, Yi Chen's Zhenqi increased infinitely, he threw out a punch from the side. Tyrannical rampage. The power of the punch tore the ground apart, it gathered a huge wave of dirt and rushed out. Boom. The ground exploded, the late condensing reality realm horse bandit was blown into pieces, his blood and flesh flying everywhere. This kid is hard to deal with. Archers, get ready. As the order was given, arrows were shot towards Yi Chen like rain, locking down the huge space. Ding, ding, ding. Unfortunately, Yi Chen's body was covered in a jade-like luster. Once the arrows touched him, they were broken into 2 pieces and bounced off. Chapter 93. Clang. Facing the rain of arrows, with a few late condensing reality realm warriors glaring at him, Yi Chen did not dare to take it lightly. He immediately pulled out his hidden cloud sword. The pure Junjun Qi had a great effect on the sword art. Once Yi Chen threw out a sword attack, the snow-white sword light looked like a blooming lotus flower. The sharp light shot out in all directions, slicing the ground around Yi Chen into pieces. At the same time, numerous mountain-like silhouettes appeared within the sword light. They were extremely sharp and powerful. Combining the two together, it looked a bit like the legendary Blade Mountain. Condensed sword qi. Yi Chen swung the sword straight out. The sword light was compressed infinitely and turned into a thick sword qi. Because of its high speed, the air was cut open like water ripples, and the natural yuan qi was disrupted. In the eyes of the crowd, this was not a sword qi at all, it was clearly a mountain. They suddenly felt that it was unstoppable, and their momentum was weakened by 80%. Swoosh! The flat ground was split open, and the horse bandits in the vicinity of this line were either split into two halves or crushed into a bloody mist by the aftermath of the sword qi, leaving nothing behind. Then, the sword qi's momentum did not diminish, and it slashed towards the leader of the horse bandits who was suppressing Xu Jing. Sword qi. The horse bandit leader sensed the change and looked over. He was shocked. A mid-condensing reality realm warrior could actually release sword qi. Wasn't that something only clasping Yuan realm swordsmen could do? Moreover, this sword qi was not an ordinary sword qi. It contained the mentality of a mountain, which could crush and suppress everything. It was almost at the edge of the sword intent, and was only one step away from the supreme sword intent. After exchanging more than 10 moves, Xu Jing was gradually suppressed by the horse bandit leader. However, she had also figured out his martial arts patterns. If she was not mistaken, this horse bandit leader should be one of the top horse bandit leaders in the Northwest Plain. His name was Kai Kuei, and he had reached the clasping Yuan realm a few years ago. His moves were very powerful. If she was not strong enough, she might not even be able to take 3 of his punches. After fighting for a while, Xu Jing noticed that her opponent's attention had shifted, and she couldn't help but look over as well. In her line of sight, Yi Chen, who was dressed in a white robe, was like a towering mountain. He was clearly right in front of her, but he gave off the illusion that he was far away. This junior brother of mine is really amazing. There is the aura of Dao in his sword technique. As long as he is given time, he will definitely become a peerless swordsman in the future. Laughing out loud, Kai Kuei withdrew his left hand and threw out a punch, while saying, "No matter how talented you are only a mid-condensing reality realm warrior, what can you do to me?" Mountain crashing fist, break, catcher. The artistic conception in the sword qi was the first to be broken. Then, the sword qi collapsed and disappeared. However, Kai Kuei's body also stiffened. Strands of sword qi flowed up along his arm, wanting to injure his foundation. Only after separating a portion of his true qi could he eliminate the threat of the sword qi. Xu Jing understood what Yi Chen meant. He wanted to help her escape. With that thought in mind, all of her Zhen qi started to burn like fire. 2 illusory golden flame rings appeared behind her head, one big and one small. Low-rank Earth Realm Art, Golden 3 Realm Art. Yi Chen could tell that Xu Jing had trained a low-rank Earth Realm Art, Golden 3 Realm Art. This art was extremely powerful. The 7th stage was called the Shocking Sky, the 8th stage was called the Extreme Void Sky, and the 9th stage was called the Skytop Sky. When the 3 stages combined, it could suppress everything and was unstoppable. However, Xu Jing had obviously trained it to the 8th stage, the Extreme Void Sky. When the 2 stages combined, her power suddenly increased. With a single punch, Kai Kuei was forced to take 4 steps back. Open. Not in the mood to fight anymore, Xu Jing just charged forward. The burning golden Zhen qi instantly pushed away the people who were in her way. She did not even care about her horse, she flew towards Wu Zongming and the other 3. Yi Chen did not stop her either. He turned around and threw out 13 sword attacks. Streams of mountain-like sword qi flew towards Kai Kuei, who was chasing after him. His feet did not even touch the ground as he flew backwards. With the help of Xu Jing and Yi Chen, Wu Zongming and the other 3 finally got out of the encirclement. 4 horses and 2 people, their speed increased to the limit. Like lightning, they gradually disappeared into the distance. "Damn this brat!" Kai Kuei was furious. He stomped on the ground, causing it to shake continuously. He threw out a series of punches, which turned into countless fist shadows that shattered the mountain-like sword chi. "Brother, what do we do now?" A leader of the horse gang could not help but ask with red eyes. Kai Kuei calmed down his boiling blood and tried to suppress his unstable emotions. He asked, "How many brothers did we lose?" 23 in total. Besides me, all the other leaders were killed. 6 late condensing reality realm warriors were all killed. I am so angry. Kai Kuei's eyes were wide open and bloodshot. Although there were only about 50 people in this bandit group, every one of them was a veteran of hundreds of battles, especially those 6 small leaders who had followed him to roam the Northwest Plains for several years. They were the foundation that he relied on. He never thought that they would all die in this battle. For a moment, his heart was bleeding. "Brother, I have told you before, don't hang out with Ouyang brother. They are both core disciples of the martial school, they have powerful people behind them. Although they give us a lot of gold and treasures every time, we are risking our lives for them. But they don't even need to do anything, yet they get the biggest share. I know about this." Kai Kuei was indeed the leader of a horse gang. Although he was angry, he still had some calmness in his heart. He said, "We have already offended the Sky Cloud Martial School, we cannot have another conflict with the Purple Sun Martial School. Let's avoid contact with Ouyang brother from now on. Right now, let's leave the Northwest Plain and go out to recruit people, hoping to make a comeback." "You are right, brother." After fighting their way out of the encirclement, Yi Chen and Wu Zhongming rode on one horse, while Xu Jing and one of the female disciples rode on the other. Taking out a mysterious green pellet and throwing it to Yi Chen, Xu Jing said, "The rest of the journey will inevitably be dangerous. This is a mysterious recovering pellet, it can help you recover your lost Jin Qi." Yi Chen had heard about the mysterious recovering pellet before. It cost 3,000 gold for one pellet, and it could recover Jin Qi 10 times faster than usual. It was a necessity for high-level warriors. With just a glance, Yi Chen picked up the pellet and swallowed it. He then started to use his pure Jun Jin Qi to refine the pellet. In his dantian, the almost dried-up Jin Qi whirlpool was helped by the mysterious recovering pellet. Jin Qi continuously poured out, flowing into all the meridians in his body. Before, he first threw out the Tyrant Fist art, then he used the Lone Peak of 13 Swords. He used the poetic perspective of the Lone Peak of 13 Swords to create a sword chi that consumed a lot of Jin Qi. Although it was powerful, it could not last long. It was far weaker than a clasping Yuan Realm Warrior. After all, a mid-condensing reality Realm Warrior was still too low. After 7 days, the group of 6 returned to the Sky Cloud Martial School in the Windy Mountain. The next half a month was no different than before, training, doing missions, and so on. Inadvertently, Yi Chen heard the news brought back by a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School who had participated in the auction. The North Snow Fast Blade Lynch had safely returned to the North Snow Martial Academy. It was said that someone had seen the old man in grey, Dao Su, in a very bad shape, with one of his arms broken. Chapter 94. The sea of clouds was rolling, the wind was blowing. "You really want me to fight you with all my power?" On a remote cliff, Xu Jing, who was dressed in white, stood there. She was not tall, nor did she have a burly figure. She even looked a little delicate. However, no matter how strong the wind was, it could not shake her in the slightest. She was like a statue that had not fallen for thousands of years. Yi Chen nodded. "I have trained a martial art, and it needs a lot of pressure to improve. So I want to use your help to train." What he was talking about was the pure jade body boosting spell. He had trained this martial art to the peak of the 3rd level a long time ago, but he had not been able to break through to the 4th level. He had been thinking about it these days, and realized that it would be very difficult for him to reach the 4th level by himself. Only by using other people's power to stimulate his own potential could he achieve it in a short period of time. If that is the case, then I will not hold back. Xu Jing could tell that Yi Chen was serious. Although she was curious about what kind of martial art he had trained, she was not a talkative person. She would not ask what she should not ask. Cross the sea to kill the devil. Xu Jing took a step forward with her right foot. All the rocks within a few meters radius floated into the air. She did not seem to be very fast, but she had already arrived in front of Yi Chen. She threw out a punch with a strong golden light. Yi Chen could feel the explosive power contained in this punch. He did not dare to waste any time. He pushed the pure jade body-boosting spell with all his power. A layer of jade-like luster appeared on his skin. His body shook, and his Zhen Qi was pushed to the limit. He threw out a punch as well. Chin. The two fists collided, and a strong shockwave spread out. A few huge black cracks appeared on the ground like snakes, spreading everywhere. So it really is more than 10,000 pounds of power. Because Yi Chen did not use any martial arts, his arm was numb, and his vision blurred. He almost fainted. Xu Jing did not intend to hold back. She missed the first punch, but the second one followed. Destroy the mountain and flip the sea. That intense golden light, along with the sound of a tsunami, attacked towards Yi Chen's temple from the left side. The fist power hadn't arrived yet, but the fist wind had already arrived. It was like a lightning bolt and was as heavy as a mountain. Bang! Yi Chen stretched out his hand to block the punch. His left fist drilled out from his waist and began to counterattack. Alright, I'm going to use the power of the 7th level of the Golden Three Realms art. After repelling Yi Chen's fist energy with a single punch, an illusory golden ring of fire appeared behind Xu Jing's head. Her entire body was burning with golden Zhen Qi. Combined with her strength of over 10,000 Jin, she would be able to kill anyone who stood in her way. Yi Chen did not retreat nor evade. He laughed loudly and said, "Senior sister, go ahead and make your move." A cold glint flickered in Xu Jing's eyes. With a twist of her feet, the surface of the cliff cracked. Soon after, her two fists, one on the left and one on the right, struck out, using the move she used to deal with Kai Kuei. Kachak. The jade-like luster on the surface of Yi Chen's body collapsed and was annihilated. His tall and straight body that was as steady as a mountain took 10 steps back, and every step he took was extremely heavy and emitted thumping sounds. Alright, again, activating the pure jade body boosting spell. Again, Yi Chen didn't care about the taste of blood in his throat. He rushed towards Xu Jing. Back off. This fight was to help Yi Chen break through. There was no need for any fancy moves, only a solid head-on collision. Therefore, Xu Jing threw out another punch, which once again made Yi Chen take 10 steps back. Again. Boom. Again. Towards the end, Yi Chen's 7 orifices began to bleed. The jade-like luster on the surface of his body became dim and looked like it would disappear at any time. However, the more it was like this, the more intense Yi Chen's fighting spirit became. His whole body was filled with profound qi, and even the mountain wind could not extinguish it. His tall and straight body was unyielding, as straight as a javelin, extremely sharp. It was like a piece of rough metal. After being polished thousands of times, it burst out with a sharpness that could pierce through gold and stone. Xu Jing was shocked. What kind of martial art did Yi Chen train? Without using any martial skills, he could take more than 10 punches from her without falling down. Instead, it seemed like he was going to be reborn. Besides that, his fighting spirit really did look like a peerless swordsman. Knowing that it was not enough, the golden Zhen Qi around Xu Jing's body grew even stronger, and a bigger halo appeared behind her head. It was the sign of the 8th stage of the Golden Three Realm art, the extreme Taiji. With a punch, the mountain wind stopped, and the air was still. Only the cliff could not handle the power, and started to shake. Demons fall. Although the monster-killing fist art was a top-rank mortal realm martial skill, the power of the last movement was already extremely close to a low-rank earth realm martial skill. However, it was also quite troublesome to perform. Yi Chen had to push his Golden Three Realm art to the 8th stage before he could use it. Otherwise, he would have to bear the huge counterforce and get slightly injured. It was similar to Yi Chen's Tyrant fist art, but not as crazy. The golden light was like a waterfall, with a power that could pierce through a mountain. It flew towards Yi Chen. Pooh! The jade-like luster could not even last for a second, and was instantly destroyed. Yi Chen could only feel that the clouds on both sides were moving forward quickly. He felt something sweet in his throat, and a huge amount of blood spurted out, turning into a blood mist. The fast-moving clouds stopped moving, and Yi Chen's whole body was sunk into the mountain behind him. He could not even move a finger, and he felt weak and dizzy. With a bitter smile, Yi Chen said weakly, "Senior sister, are you trying to kill me? Stubborn diseases need strong medicine to cure them. It will save you a lot of trouble." Walking in front of Yi Chen, Shu Jing opened Yi Chen's jaw, and threw a dark red pellet into his mouth. She said, "This is the body-refining pellet that I usually use to train my strength. It is very effective. You don't need to move for now, in case you hurt your muscles and bones, and leave behind future problems." Yi Chen did not hear the last few words. Once the body-refining pellet entered his throat, it turned into liquid and flowed down. With his stomach as the center, the medicinal power gradually spread to his internal organs, all the meridians in his body, and finally into his bones, continuously forcing out the impurities. Black impurities oozed out from the surface of Yi Chen's body, and the stench was overwhelming. Not knowing how long had passed, Yi Chen slowly opened his eyes. His bright eyes were like cold lightning, and also like the light of a sword, sharp and penetrating. "So smelly. Let's go back and wash up." She pressed her white and slim palm on the mountain and pushed out her hidden power, shaking Yi Chen out. Smelling himself, it was indeed smelly. Yi Chen said embarrassedly, "Thank you for your help, senior sister. If you need anything in the future, Yi Chen will definitely not decline. Let's go, you want to kill me with the stench." Shu Jing said expressionlessly. A week had passed. That night, Yi Chen sat on his bed with his legs crossed, continuously practicing the pure jade body boosting spell. The jade-like luster on the surface of his body was flickering, sometimes it was bright, sometimes it was like his whole body was made of jade, sometimes it was dim, like a rock. Pa! A light, almost inaudible sound was heard as the jade-like luster shattered inch by inch, merging back into Yi Chen's body. Then, he spat it out, giving off a cold white light. It looked countless times tougher than before, giving off a diamond-like feeling. At this moment, the fourth spell of the pure jade body boosting spell, Broken Jade Rebirth, was completed. Chapter 95. Opening his eyes, Yi Chen jumped off the bed and performed a set of King Kong fist without using his Jin Qi. The wind from the punch whistled through the room, causing the furniture and the wooden windows in the room to make rattling sounds. Finally, they broke into pieces and scattered all over the floor. "Wow, my strength has increased by 5,000 pounds and reached 20,000 pounds. Yi Chen immediately felt the great increase in his physical strength. He seemed to have endless energy and could kill 5 water buffaloes in a row with one punch. Qi power was not like Zhen Qi, which was limited by the limits of the human body, and would grow very slowly. It would already be amazing for a martial artist to reach 20,000 pounds. Even clasping Yuan realm martial artists did not have such a powerful body, unless they had also trained a body-strengthening martial art. Senior sister Shu Jing must have used 70 to 80% of her strength that day, otherwise her last punch could have killed me. Thinking of the power of the Golden Three Realm art, and the monster-killing fist art, Yi Chen knew his limits and did not think that his opponent had used her full strength. Nothing happened that night. The next morning, the sun was high up in the sky. Stepping on the sunlight, Yi Chen arrived at the floating cloud palace. The palace was empty, there were only 3 or 4 people choosing missions, it was very quiet. Walking to the grey jade wall, Yi Chen looked at it and fixed his eyes on the last mission in the first row. It seemed to be newly posted. Mission: go to the ancient water lake and help the Chu family find the lost ship. Details: there is a dangerous place in the ancient water lake called the 9 Bends and 18 Bends. There are many demonic beasts in the water and it is accompanied by underwater whirlpools. It is extremely dangerous. Mission difficulty: 5-star grey level. Mission reward: 120,000 gold. The ancient water lake, isn't that in the extreme north of the Windy Nation? It is so far away from here. Yi Chen had heard of the name of the ancient water lake. It was said that this lake had existed for 3,000 years. In the early days, it was just a small lake. Later, There was a big earthquake and everything within thousands of miles sank into the ground. After 3,000 years of irrigation, it became the ancient water lake today. In the early days, the ancient water lake was not dangerous, but the current ancient water lake was extremely dangerous. It seemed that the earthquake had released the ancient demonic beasts underground, which had occupied the entire ancient water lake, causing some fish and prawns that were not demonic beasts to mutate and become one of the demonic beasts. In the middle of the ancient water lake, there was a large island named Pan Shan Island. There was a clan living on the island. It was the Chu clan that issued the mission. The Chu clan had a long history. 3,000 years ago, they lived on Pan Shan Island. Even though they knew that there were many demonic beasts in the ancient water lake, they had never thought of leaving and had always lived there. On the other hand, there would occasionally be some geniuses who were unwilling to be left out of the limelight. They would leave the ancient water lake and come to the bustling area, making a name for themselves. It was said that the Emerald Martial Palace had an inner disciple who came from the Chu family of the Pan Shan Island. Without thinking too much about it, Yi Chen tore off the mission slip and left the soaring cloud hall. At the foot of the mountain, a rider was galloping towards the north. 8 days later, Yi Chen came to the vicinity of the vast ancient water lake. Coincidentally, there was a small run-down restaurant on the shore, with 4 large black words written on the plaque with peeling paint. Ancient Water Restaurant. Getting off the horse, Yi Chen patted the horse's head. It took me 8 days to get here. I should replace you when I get back. You will suffer if you follow me anyway. It was shameful to waste time. The dark brown horse was reliable in the early stages, but in the later stages, it was powerless. 2,000 miles a day was of no use at all. Even if they rushed through the night, they would only be able to travel 3,000 miles a day. Yi Chen planned to go back and get a half-demon horse, the ghost-eyed jade lion, which could travel 3,300 miles a day. If they rushed through the night, 5,000 miles would not be a problem. The most important thing was that the half-demon horse had a strong physical strength. It could run continuously for 3 days and 3 nights without rest. After that, it only needed to rest for a night and it would be full of energy again. Young warrior, you are going to the ancient water lake, right? Why don't you come in and take a rest? The waiter saw a guest and greeted him enthusiastically. Yi Chen nodded. Take care of my horse. All right, this way please. The restaurant was more dilapidated than he had imagined. The walls were mottled, the tables were rough and uneven, and even the chairs were pieced together. It looked very shabby. Choosing a chair that was pleasing to the eye, Yi Chen sat down and ordered a few dishes. While he was eating, the sound of horse hooves unexpectedly came from outside the restaurant. Good luck today, another guest. The waiter immediately became energetic. After a while, a young man dressed in green walked in. Seeing Yi Chen, the young man in green frowned. You are an inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Are you going to the ancient water lake Pan Shan Island? Yes. Yi Chen could tell that the young man was an inner disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace. Then you don't need to go. The Chu family's business should be handled by the Chu family. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. You are a disciple of the Chu family. The 166th generation disciple of the Chu family, Chu Ming. The young man in green sat down at a table opposite to Yi Chen. Sorry, since I have accepted the task, I will try my best. Yi Chen did not intend to give up the task. Chu Ming sneered. I am reminding you that there is no boat to cross the ancient water lake. It is 450 miles of waterway from here to the Pan Shan Island. If you are not careful, you will be dragged into the water by the beasts and die without a whole body. Moreover, the 9 twists and 18 turns are even more dangerous. Everything is dangerous. How can you achieve great things by being timid? The two did not have any conflict. After all, not every disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace was arrogant and annoying. On the shore of the ancient water lake, the lake water was surging and sparkling. At a glance, the sky and the water were like a line. Chu Ming glanced at Yi Chen and took out a waist-thick, 1-meter-long piece of wood from his storage ring. The wood was shot more than a dozen feet away, drawing a white watermark on the lake. It was extremely fast, But Chu Ming was even faster. He didn't make any movements, but he was faster. Before the wood fell into the water, he had already stepped on it. He rode on the wood as if it was nothing, and after a while, he became a small dot. Using a piece of wood as a boat. Yi Chen nodded and looked around. Soon, he found a small forest hundreds of meters away, in which there were many 3 to 4 meters tall trees. A sword light flashed and a big tree fell down. Yi Chen was afraid of being attacked by beasts on the way, so he cut a dozen more pieces of wood. Each piece was the same thickness and weighed hundreds of pounds. Coming to the shore, Yi Chen did the same thing, threw the wood out and stood on it. The scenery on both sides quickly passed by. Yi Chen felt that he had never been so happy before. For a moment, he felt that the sky was high and the earth was wide. He was like a bird, free and unrestrained. The wood had lost its momentum. Yi Chen activated his Zhen Qi and spurted it out from the back of the wood, becoming the source of power. Whoosh, whoosh. Although he did not catch up with Chu Ming, his speed was not slow. In addition, it was good to step on the wood and enjoy the scenery of the lake. After walking for dozens of miles, under the water behind the log, a huge shadow was following them silently. Chapter 96. The ancient water lake is indeed full of dangers. Yi Chen looked at the surface of the water in front of him and heard the rapid sound of water splashing. Many shuttle-like strange fish swooped up. The strange fish was more than 3 feet long, and its entire body was covered in dark green scales. Its pectoral and pelvic fins were very long and wide, like the wings of a bird. They flapped violently as it flew at an extremely fast speed. Kai 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 kai. While flying, the fish opened its mouth and shot out 2-inch-long venomous stingers, covering the entire area. Although Yi Chen did not know what kind of fish it was, he knew that its poisonous stingers were not to be underestimated. Who knew if it could kill a condensing reality realm warrior within a second? Of course, after reaching the 4th stage of the pure jade body boosting spell, the poisonous stingers would not be able to penetrate his defense. However, Yi Chen did not plan to be passive. Activating his protective aura, he shattered the densely packed poisonous thorns. Clang! The hidden cloud sword was unsheathed and flashed 4 times in the air. The next moment, 4 cross-shaped sword lights shot out and sliced the school of strange fish into pieces. Blood rained everywhere. Before the previous wave subsided, another wave arose. Suddenly, a huge wave rose behind him. In the wave, a huge monster snake was faintly discernible. Its demonic aura soared into the sky, stirring up vortexes one after another. This time, Yi Chen recognized the species of this strange snake. It was a peak level 4 demonic beast, water-splitting python. It was extremely strong and had the innate ability to call the wind and summon the rain. In addition to the demonic beast's inner dan, it could also form a water-splitting dan. If a martial artist wore it on their body and used their Zhen Qi to stimulate it, it would be enough to double their speed in water. It was a rare treasure. Hiss! The anaconda opened its bloody mouth and shot out a thick pillar of grayish-white water. Yi Chen's brows slightly wrinkled. He waved the hidden cloud sword in his hand, and a clear sword mark appeared in the air. Then, a condensed sword light flew out. Hualala! The water column exploded, and it started to rain heavily. Yi Chen stood still. Before the raindrops could even come within 3 feet of him, they were sliced into nothingness by the protective aura. Seeing that the water column could not do anything to Yi Chen, the anaconda looked up to the sky and hissed. The ferocious demon aura rushed up to the sky, causing a drastic change in the qi of heaven and earth. Large dark clouds suddenly gathered in the low sky. It was so dark that it made people panic. At the same time, a strong wind blew above the ancient water lake and the undercurrent surged, stirring up waves after waves. A normal peak level 4 demonic beast shouldn't be this strong. Could it be that this anaconda has the bloodline of an ancient demonic beast? That would be surprising. As far as Yi Chen knew, it was true that a peak level 4 demonic beast could summon a gale. However, it was very difficult to cause a small-scale change in the sky. It was almost impossible. Only a level 5 demonic beast could cause such a big movement. The wood under his feet moved up and down in the undercurrent. Yi Chen snorted coldly, raised his right foot, and stomped down. Buzz! Ripples spread out one after another, and the surface of the water within a radius of 100 feet calmed down. Abruptly, the anaconda let out a miserable howl, and its huge body was thrown up, as if it had suffered a heavy blow. After a few blinks of an eye, the anaconda's wriggling body returned to the surface of the water, but it was not hurt. Instead, it became extremely angry. Its long body rolled and slapped, and its 4 to 5 feet long tail broke through the water waves, violently whipping towards Yi Chen, leaving a series of afterimages. Yi Chen's expression was completely dignified. In addition to stabilizing the wood with his foot, he also used the secret skill he got from the Bloody Butcher, Earth Explosion and Sky Shock. The hidden force quietly attacked the anaconda from the bottom of the water. He thought that even if he could not kill it, he could at least injure it a little and make it retreat. But now it seemed that the power of Earth Explosion and Sky Shock could not break its defense at all. The tail, which was as thick as a water tank, whipped over. The sharp airflow was like a knife. Without thinking, Yi Chen jumped up into the air. Crack! Like a stick hitting tofu, the wood was instantly smashed into pieces. In the air, Yi Chen took a deep breath, waved the hidden cloud sword in his hand 4 times, and 4 mountain-like sword chi slashed down, respectively locking on the anaconda's head, neck, abdomen, and tail. Clang! 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 Except for the tail, the other 3 parts were all hit. But even with the sharpness of the sword chi, it could only break the snake's scales, and barely reached its insides. Grey-red blood suddenly dyed the surface of the lake red, spreading out like ink. The anaconda was really in pain this time. It looked up to the sky and hissed, and its grey-green eyes turned scarlet, looking strange and cruel. It opened its bloody mouth, and a whirlpool gathered in its throat. Then, a half-meter thick spiral water column rushed out, and compressed again in the middle, becoming as thick as a thigh, and shot towards Yi Chen like a laser. Not good, this beast is too strong, I can't do anything to it. Yi Chen's expression changed. The thigh-thick spiral water column was too fast, and he couldn't borrow any momentum in the air, so he had no time to dodge. He could only throw a punch at the water column. In the sky-shaking sound, a huge semicircle was formed on the surface of the lake, about 10 meters deep. Compared to it, Yi Chen's body was like a slightly bigger insect, so small. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth, and Yi Chen was slightly injured. The anaconda was not much better. Its huge body rolled a few times in the water, and it was dizzy. It couldn't send out a second spiral water column. I'll take the parting water pill next time, I should go to Pan Shan Island first. After making up his mind, Yi Chen didn't want to continue fighting with the anaconda. He stepped back, and the rainwater in the air bent into an amazing arc, like a pulled bowstring. Of course, this was not a bowstring, but the rainwater that Yi Chen condensed, and turned into something that could be borrowed to increase their initial momentum. Swoosh! With his arms wide open, Yi Chen was like a white crane, and in a flash, he left the area and swept towards the center of the ancient water lake. After half a day, Yi Chen, who had been traveling for a long time, finally saw a huge island. The island was circular, and there were winding roads around it. On the top of the island, other than a mountain, there was a continuous ancient building complex. With a bitter smile, Yi Chen said to himself, Chu Ming should have arrived long ago. After all, he is more familiar with the ancient water lake than I am, and can avoid some dangers in advance. Shaking his head, Yi Chen activated his chi, and the wood under his feet moved forward at a faster speed. On the island, Yi Chen didn't fly up the mountain directly, because that was not a polite behavior. Following the path, Yi Chen came to the main road of Panshan, where there were 4 men guarding. Who are you? The yellow-faced man shouted coldly. Yi Chen cupped his fists and said, You guys, I am an inner disciple of the Flowing Cloud sect, and I am here for a mission. What proof do you have? The man asked. Yi Chen thought of the inner disciple token, and quickly took it out and threw it into the man's hand. The man carefully looked at it, and after confirming that there was no mistake, he returned the token, and politely said, I have offended you just now, Hero Yi, please follow me up the mountain. Yi Chen nodded and followed behind. Chapter 97. The coiling mountain avenue was clearly 10,000 feet long, but now it was stretched to hundreds of thousands of feet. According to the yellow-faced man, no matter who it was, if they wanted to reach the top of the mountain, they had to walk along the coiling mountain avenue. As for why, the yellow-faced man didn't know. Perhaps it was a custom that had been passed down for thousands of years. With their amazing speed, they arrived at the top of the mountain in less than half an hour. As far as the eye could see, the flat mountain top was covered with ancient buildings. Behind the buildings, there was a small green mountain that was less than 100 feet high. A beautiful waterfall fell straight down into the small pond in the middle of the buildings, splashing water everywhere. What a beautiful place! Yi Chen was secretly amazed. He was used to seeing big cities and mountains. Now that he was on this island, he felt refreshed. Walking along the ancient stone road, Yi Chen followed the man with a yellow face to the big house in the middle of the buildings. Master, the person outside is an inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School. The man with a yellow face said loudly, "Let him in." An old voice came out. Hearing this, Yi Chen stepped into the hall of the house. An old man in his 70s was sitting in the main seat of the hall. His skin was yellow like the man with a yellow face, but it did not look like he was malnourished. It seemed like he was born this way. Sitting next to him was a young man in green. It was Chu Ming who had arrived before Yi Chen. Chu Ming saw that Yi Chen could come to the Pan Shan Island. He was a little surprised. Walking to the center of the hall, Yi Chen cupped his fists. "I am Yi Chen, an inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School." "Nice to meet you, Master Chu." The old man nodded. "You received a mission and came here, right?" "Yes." "That's good. With 2 disciples, we have a better chance of finding the lost ship. Yi Chen will try his best." While talking, Yi Chen was confused. He carefully sensed the old man's cultivation level and found that he was only at Mortal Realm Stage 7. He could not help but ask, "Master Chu, on the way here, I noticed that all the people in the Chu family are below the condensing reality realm. What is going on?" He didn't think that a family couldn't produce a condensing reality realm warrior. Chu Ming was a good example. In the future, he might also step into the clasping Yuan realm and become a martial artist. The old man sighed. "Find a seat first." Yi Chen sat on the chair opposite Chu Ming, wanting to hear what he had to say. "It's not that our Chu family doesn't have any condensing reality realm warriors, it's just that we don't have any condensing reality realm warriors. Any warrior who has reached the condensing reality realm, if they stay on Pan Shan Island for more than 3 months, would suddenly meet with an unexpected calamity, or be attacked by demonic beasts, or become possessed by evil spirits, and disappear without a trace. Therefore, when Chu Ming reached the condensing reality realm, I asked him to leave Pan Shan Island." The elder said slowly, "There's such a thing." Yi Chen gasped. Chu Ming said lightly, "That's true. 15 years ago, my father died of qi deviation without any warning." The hall was silent for a moment. Yi Chen said again, "Then why didn't the whole family leave Pan Shan Island? The outside world is so big, there would be a place for the Chu family." The story starts from 3,000 years ago. At that time, the ancient water lake was not called the ancient water lake, it was called the Green Lake. Our Chu family lived on the shore of the Green Lake. There was no Pan Shan Island. However, ever since one of our clansmen found an ancient object in a cave at the bottom of the Green Lake, things changed. First, there was a huge earthquake in a radius of 1,000 miles, causing the terrain to change, forming a huge crater. Then, there was a thunderstorm that lasted for 3 months, almost completely submerging the Chu clan and everything around it. On the brink of life and death, an island descended from the sky, suppressing the cave at the bottom of the Green Lake. Our Chu clan's ancestors believed that the gods were merciful and gave the Chu clan a way out. Thus, the entire clan moved to the island. This island is today's Pan Shan Island. After recalling for a while, the old man continued, "But things are not so simple. After moving to Pan Shan Island, all the warriors above the mortal realm died one by one within 3 months. At that time, the patriarch with the highest cultivation level, the ancestor of our Chu family, finally said some information before he died." "What did he say?" Yi Chen found himself deeply attracted. The old man used all the strength in his body and said word by word, "Devil, curse," just these 4 words. Devil, curse. Yi Chen suddenly felt a tingling sensation on his back, the pores on his body stood up. These 4 words seemed to have a great magical power, even saying it out loud was enough to make people tremble. Chu Ming's face was also not looking good. Every time he heard these 4 words, he would feel a kind of fear, deeply imprinted in his blood, unable to get rid of, unable to forget. The old man smiled bitterly. "Is it very scary?" Yi Chen did not try to be brave, he nodded and said yes. "When I first heard these 4 words, I was even more afraid than you were. I couldn't sleep for a month, I always felt like there were shadows around me, like there were ghosts roaring. But then I became numb, because as long as we don't reach the condensing reality realm, we Chu family are still normal people, we won't die for no reason." Hearing this, Yi Chen looked at the old man again. The old man had not explained his previous doubts. The old man continued, "It's not that we didn't think about moving the whole family, it's just that we couldn't do it. Before the ancestor died, he told everyone to leave Pan Shan Island, not to stay here. The others all obeyed, and were divided into 3 groups, ready to leave one by one. But what made people desperate was that only one of the first group survived. The others also suddenly met with an unexpected disaster, and it was even more terrible than those who died on Pan Shan Island. The only survivor was scared out of his wits, and after returning to Pan Shan Island, he died within 3 years. Couldn't leave Pan Shan Island? But what happened to Chu Ming? No, only one of the first group survived. Although he died later, it was due to a mental breakdown, it should have nothing to do with the curse. In other words, only one person could leave Pan Shan Island safely, and not be threatened by the curse. This could be explained as there were 50 ways of living, 49 ways of living. If a person escaped, the heavens would always leave a chance of survival, not to mention an entire family, hundreds of thousands of people. At that moment, countless thoughts flashed through Yi Chen's mind. After a few decades, some of the younger generation of the family didn't believe it, and prepared to move again, but the number of people was much smaller, only a few dozen. Without exception, as long as one left Pan Shan Island for 500 miles, only one survived, the others all died tragically. No one could explain why. The old man's voice sounded a little tired. Yi Chen more or less understood the ins and outs of the whole thing, but he didn't think that such a beautiful place could have such a terrible thing. An underwater cave, an island that fell from the sky, a cursed family, the whole thing was too horrifying, and impossible to explain. Perhaps when he reached a certain level, he would be able to solve this mystery. Now, he didn't dare to act rashly, for fear of being infected by the curse of Pan Shan Island. At that time, he really wouldn't be able to leave Pan Shan Island, unless he killed Chu Ming. But he and Chu Ming weren't from the same family. Even if he killed Chu Ming, he wouldn't be able to leave Pan Shan Island, unless he killed Chu Ming. Chapter 98. Just as Yi Chen was lost in his thoughts, the elder looked at him and said, "If there is nothing else, can we go to the 9 bends and 18 bends to look for the lost ship? My granddaughter is still on the ship, it has been half a month. Although there is enough food on the ship, accidents are inevitable." Chu Ming stood up and said, "Don't worry Grandpa, leave it to me. I will definitely bring Xin Ying back. Since there are people on the ship, let's go now." Yi Chen also stood up. The elder nodded and said, "I will go with you, the ironwood ship is ready." On the northwest coast of Pan Shan Island, a 15 meters long and 3 meters wide black wooden ship was docked there. Its surface was glowing with a faint metallic luster. Yi Chen knew that this was the ironwood ship. It was made of ironwood, which was comparable to metal. Needless to say, it was hard enough to withstand a full blow from a mortal realm warrior. It was also very flexible, able to move quickly in big waves without worrying about the hull breaking. "Master." 12 mortal realm stage 9 warriors of the Chu family stood in a row and said in unison. The elder waved his hand and said, "You all know Chu Ming. This is the inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School, Yi Chen. He will go with us to the 9 bends and 18 bends to rescue Xin Ying." After saying that, he turned to Yi Chen and Chu Ming and said, "They are not as strong as you two, but they are good swimmers, they can hold their breath underwater for 15 minutes. Yi Chen was a little surprised. With his current cultivation, holding his breath underwater for 15 minutes was not difficult, but these 12 people were only at mortal realm stage 9. The closer they got to the 9 bends and 18 bends, the faster the current became. Waves after waves of water hit the side of the ironwood ship, making loud banging sounds. Inside the cabin, the old man said, "The 9 bends and 18 bends are very complicated, with countless whirlpools. Without exquisite rowing skills, it is impossible to pass through. If there are no accidents, this old man's granddaughter should be trapped in the first half of the 9 bends and 18 bends. There is a small mountain there, and the mountain and the lake have formed a flat beach for the boat to dock. What you need to do is very simple. Kill any demonic beasts that come close to prevent the boat from being pushed off course." Yi Chen said, "That's very simple. I can use my lightness skill to fly over, and I'll be able to find the lost ship and your granddaughter very quickly." The old man shook his head. The truly terrifying part of the 9 bends and 18 bends is not the flow of water or the demon beasts, but the thick fog. If one were to enter it alone, it would be very easy to get lost and not be able to come out for a lifetime. Only by following the changes in the flow of water would one be able to find a way out. "I see." Yi Chen nodded thoughtfully. Panshan Island and Ancient Water Lake could not be treated with common sense. It was too strange. Creak. Suddenly, the ironwood ship shook violently, as if it had been brushed by something. Deng deng deng, a martial artist of the Chu clan rushed in. "Clan head, 3 demon birds are approaching." The old man nodded. "Leave it to the 2 of them." Yi Chen and Chu Ming looked at each other and walked out of the cabin together. On the deck, Yi Chen looked up and saw 3 huge strange birds flying in the air. The strange birds had a wingspan of 5 meters, and the upper half of their wings had a pair of sharp claws. At this time, they had not yet approached the ironwood ship, but the wind caused by the flapping of their wings had caused the ironwood ship to shake. Star finger, 7 stars of the Big Dipper. Chu Ming raised the index and middle fingers of his right hand, and at the end of his fingertips, a glazed brilliance appeared. He pointed 7 times in the air, and drew the pattern of the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. Without any suspense, the 3 demon birds were shrouded by the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. Several bloody holes appeared on their bodies, and they fell into the lake. Yi Chen smiled and said, "Good finger technique. Insignificant skill." Chu Ming withdrew his hand. At this moment, a Chu family martial artist shouted, "We have arrived at the 9 bends and 18 bends. Everyone hold on to the fixed objects, so as not to be thrown out of the deck." The voice fell, and in the blink of an eye, the hull of the ship suddenly swayed, and there was a tendency to capsize. The other Chu family martial artists were already prepared, and firmly held onto the things that they could hold on to. Only Yi Chen and Chu Ming were indifferent. Their feet firmly stepped on the deck, and no matter how fiercely the ship shook, it was difficult to shake their bodies. Chu Ming's body was very flexible, and his balance was also very good. He seemed to be motionless, but in fact, his body was secretly making subtle changes in the direction of the hull, and he could always take advantage of the situation. But when he looked at Yi Chen, his eyes could not help but narrow. Yi Chen stood with his hands behind his back, and his feet seemed to be rooted to the ground, swaying with the hull of the ship. It was as if he was a part of the hull, and there was no possibility of him being thrown out. What a brilliant Qinggong! Chu Ming's eyesight was very powerful, and he immediately saw that Yi Chen's attainments in Qinggong were very high, and his use of Zhen Qi was far beyond that of ordinary martial artists. Yi Chen faintly smiled, and was about to speak, when he suddenly frowned and said, "There is a demon beast sneaking over from under the water." His figure jumped, and Yi Chen's body fell on the side of the ship's railing, and his fist with a shining blue light blasted down. Roar! The tiger's roar shook the sky, and the blue Qi dragon swooped down, drilling into the bottom of the water. The next moment, the huge corpse of the demon beast floated up, and there was a bathtub-sized hole in its chest and abdomen, and blood was gurgling out. Chu Ming looked at the corpse of the demon beast, and was surprised. The water shadow beast is good at hiding its demon Qi, and is proficient in stealth. "How did you detect it?" If it wasn't for Yi Chen's discovery, Chu Ming believed that it was impossible to kill the water shadow beast in advance. Only when the opponent launched an attack and exposed its demon chi would he be able to detect it. At that time, even if the ironwood ship was undamaged, it would definitely deviate from the course, and it would take a lot of effort to return to the normal route, which would undoubtedly waste a lot of time. Yi Chen naturally wouldn't say that his soul power was strong, and that he could freely explore anything around him, so he casually made up a reason and said, although the water shadow beast is proficient in stealth, and its demon chi is restrained, but with its huge body, it is difficult to sneak over without a sound, and it will inevitably change the water flow. Chu Ming secretly nodded. What Yi Chen said was right. The bigger the body, the greater the resistance in the water. But Yi Chen's perception was too strong, and he could even see the subtle changes in the water flow, which was really admirable. As they gradually went deeper into the 9 twists and 18 turns, the frequency of the hull shaking became faster and faster. Sometimes it was clearly swaying to the left, but suddenly it jumped up, and sometimes it was clearly stable without any waves, but the whirlpool under the water made it difficult for the hull to move. From fast speed to a sudden stop, it could almost make an ordinary person's heart jump out. Finally, the ironwood ship arrived in front of the half-submerged mountain. On the beach, a large ship was docked there, and it seemed to be faintly discernible in the thick fog, and there was a dead silence. The ship had not yet approached, but Chu Ming and Yi Chen's feet touched the deck, and like 2 big birds, they flew over at an incredible speed. Pa. The two stood on the deck of the lost ship, and felt that the atmosphere had changed. Xin Ying, are you there? Chu Ming called out. Whoosh, whoosh. Except for the lake wind, there was no other sound. The two were afraid of missing something, so they pushed open the cabin door and went in. After a moment, the two came out again. Yi Chen looked up at the mountain, and said to Chu Ming, maybe they went to the mountain to take refuge. Chu Ming nodded, that's the only possibility. Let's wait for Big Grandpa first. Chapter 99. The ironwood boat docked, and the old man came over with 12 people. Chu Ming said, Grandpa, Xin Ying is not up there. Not up there. The old man's face changed, he turned to the Chu warriors and said, you 12 people, 4 people in a group, divide into 3 groups and go up the mountain. Yes, Lord. The 12 Chu warriors formed their own groups and went up the mountain from 3 directions. At this time, Yi Chen said, Lord Chu, you and Chu Ming in a group, I can go alone. That's it. The old man did not underestimate Yi Chen. Along the way, Yi Chen's strength was no less than Chu Ming, who was at the late condensing reality realm. After they parted ways, Yi Chen followed the most remote path and flew up the mountain. On his way up the mountain, a poison water scorpion that loved water rushed towards him, but was easily smashed into pieces by his fist power. Liquid splashed everywhere, but he did not slow down at all. After a dozen breaths, he had disappeared into the depths of the mountain that was covered in thick fog. The fog silently parted, and a figure flashed like a ghost. Every time his feet touched the ground, he would slide dozens of meters away. His breath was long and pure. All of a sudden, the mountain near Yi Chen started to move. It was actually a giant rock beast with a rock-like outer shell. It opened its deep mouth, and an arm-thick red shadow flew out towards Yi Chen at lightning speed. Courting death. The hidden cloud sword was unsheathed, and the sharp sword light collided with the red shadow. Clang. The red shadow was cut open, and yellow-brown blood spurted out. Looking carefully, it turned out to be a 10-feet-long tongue. The root of the tongue was still in the mouth of the rock beast. It was like a frog sticking out its tongue. The beast wanted to use its tongue to roll Yi Chen into its mouth. It was really insidious. Missing its attack, the rock beast's body shrank back and squeezed into the mountain to avoid Yi Chen's counterattack. How could Yi Chen let it go? He stamped his foot on the ground and released his power. Bang! The rock beast was forcibly blown out. The sword chi flashed, and the giant rock beast with an extremely high defense fell to the ground. Its abdomen was cut open, and its internal organs and intestines rolled out. The strong earthy smell was extremely pungent. Not interested in dissecting the corpse of the giant rock beast, Yi Chen didn't even look back as he flashed into the thick fog. The mountain peak wasn't big, so Yi Chen quickly arrived at the mountainside. The first thing that came into view was a stone bridge. Beneath the stone bridge, clouds and mist tumbled. It was unfathomably deep. On the other side of the stone bridge, there was a large flat ground. Behind the flat ground, there was a large stone door. It was 33 feet tall and 28 feet wide. The door was tightly shut, revealing only a small gap. Light shone out from inside, changing the color of the mist. "There's someone inside." Yi Chen hesitated for a moment before stepping onto the stone bridge. Ka-la-la. Inconceivably, the stone beasts on both sides of the stone bridge came to life. They broke free from the stone surface and rushed towards Yi Chen step by step. Mountain range stacking. Facing the many stone beasts, Yi Chen used the lone peak of 13 swords attack range, the mountain range stacking. With a wave of his sword, layers of sword light spread out. Cha. One by one, the stone beasts were chopped into pieces and scattered all over the ground. Just as he was about to leave, Yi Chen discovered an amazing scene. The broken pieces of the stone beasts twisted a few times, turned into mist and blended into the surrounding environment, leaving no traces behind. Strange, this was really strange. Yi Chen's eyes flashed, no one knew what he was thinking. Moments later, Yi Chen took a deep breath, carried his sword and rushed towards the stone door. The stone door was really thick. Yi Chen estimated that even if he could break it, it might cause the stone room inside to collapse. It was not a wise move. Gathering 20,000 pounds of strength in both of his arms, Yi Chen inserted both of his hands into the gap in the middle of the stone door and tried to pull it to both sides. Rumble. The stone door slowly opened, and a brightly lit hall appeared in front of Yi Chen. Compared to the outside, the hall inside was luxurious enough. On both sides of the hall, there were 18 gold-painted stone pillars. They were 26 meters tall, smooth and without any carvings. In the middle of the hall, there was a red carpet, which extended all the way to the main seat of the hall. A middle-aged man was sitting on the main seat, his eyes were slightly closed, and his aura was like a mountain. On both sides of the red carpet, there were 6 other middle-aged men. Although their auras were not as powerful as the middle-aged man, they were still not to be underestimated. They were at least at the peak of late condensing reality realm. "Who are you?" The middle-aged man on the main seat opened his eyes, which were shining like lightning. He was obviously a clasping Yuan realm warrior. Yi Chen cupped his fists and said, "I am here to look for someone. I wonder if you have seen a young girl coming here?" The middle-aged man on the main seat said lightly, "Come in and have a seat." "Yes." Yi Chen felt that something was wrong, but he could not tell what it was. He followed the order and sat on the last seat on the right side of the red carpet. An evil look flashed through his eyes. The middle-aged man waved his hand at the stone door, and the stone door slowly closed. "The young girl you are talking about is 15 or 16 years old, and clean?" Yi Chen had already learned about his granddaughter's appearance and temperament from the elder. He nodded and said, "Indeed, have you seen her before?" "Yes, she was trapped at the foot of the mountain. I saved her. She is now in the side room. You can take her and leave now." The middle-aged man seemed to be easy to talk to. With a suspicious look in his eyes, Yi Chen asked to confirm, "I can take her and leave?" "What? You don't want to take her?" "Oh, no." Yi Chen stood up and walked towards the side room of the hall unhurriedly. He pushed his soul power to its limit, just in case something unexpected happened. However, things were very strange. Not only did the middle-aged man on the main seat not move, even the other 6 middle-aged men on the side seemed to have their acupuncture points sealed. They sat there without moving or talking. There was only some meat on the table, which had not been eaten at all. A strange atmosphere filled the whole hall. When he reached the door of the side room, Yi Chen suddenly turned around and looked at the middle-aged man. The evil look in the middle-aged man's eyes quickly disappeared. He asked, "What now?" "Nothing, I just think it's funny." Yi Chen pulled out his sword and sneered. "Huh." The middle-aged man said with a gloomy face, "I have already given you enough face by letting you take the young girl away. Do you want to fight me? You are only a condensing reality realm warrior. I can easily kill you. Yi Chen said with a faint smile. Really? If you can kill me, why would you lie to me? If I am not wrong, once you enter the side room, you will die. How dare you? Get the hell in here. The middle-aged man waved his hand, and a golden stone pillar fell from the ground. Without any hesitation, it shot towards Yi Chen, who was not far away. It created a thunderous sound in the air, which was unstoppable. After all, this stone pillar was 6 to 6 feet long and half a meter thick. With the help of a clasping Yuan realm warrior's Zhen Qi, it was more powerful than any weapon. It could easily pierce through a mountain and kill a late condensing reality realm warrior. At this moment, if it was an ordinary warrior, he would definitely retreat into the side room to avoid the attack of the stone pillar. However, Yi Chen was not one of them. His eyes were clear, and he did not intend to dodge at all. He held the hidden cloud sword in his right hand and pointed it at the terrifying stone pillar. Crack! The stone pillar shattered into pieces, turning into mist and dissipating. Chapter 100. Mountain Condensing Sword Qi. After breaking the stone pillar, Yi Chen's eyes flickered with a cold light. He waved a half-moon-shaped sword Qi towards the middle-aged man. Puff! The middle-aged man did not expect that Yi Chen would not retreat or dodge. Instead, he attacked him after breaking the stone pillar. Before he could react, the sword Qi landed on his body. The mist rolled, and the shape of the middle-aged chief changed rapidly. He turned from a human into a lizard-like monster, with 4 dark red sarcomas on his head. It was extremely disgusting. It opened its big mouth, and everything in the hall turned into mist and was swallowed into its stomach. Yi Chen looked around. This was not a luxurious hall at all, it was a dirty stone cave. The 6 middle-aged men, who were neither smiling nor talking, were just skeletons sitting there. The color of their bones had turned black. In addition, there were a lot of white bones piled up on the ground, extending all the way to the main seat. It was the red carpet they had seen before. Looking back, the side room was also a stone cave. It was a few meters in size, and there was a huge pit at the bottom. The pit was filled with a gray liquid, and sticky bubbles were rising from it. When the bubbles burst, the air that was stored in the liquid touched the cave wall and corroded it, leaving a large area of black marks. Although he knew that everything before was just an illusion, Yi Chen still could not help but gasp. If he had not noticed it in advance, he would have stepped into the gray liquid and died. What was more horrifying was that if he had guessed it right, this lizard-like monster should be a rare Shen beast on the True Spirit continent. It liked to suck people's brains and turn their memories into its own. Then, it would refine a kind of Shen Qi according to the memories in its mind and arrange a vivid illusion, making it hard for people to tell which was real and which was fake. Shen beasts were demonic beasts that could evolve. According to the number of sarcomas on their heads, their strength could be distinguished. One sarcoma-like demonic beast was a rank 1 beast, 2 were rank 2, and 4 were rank 4 beasts. However, Yi Chen was not afraid of it. Among the demonic beasts of the same level, Shen beasts were the weakest kind, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Where is the girl? Yi Chen stared at the Shen beast. The Shen beast growled, its small eyes filled with malice. Yi Chen frowned and remembered that the sea serpent could not speak. Only in the illusion did people think that it could speak. In fact, it had not spoken from the beginning to the end. Everything was based on the atmosphere and its own imagination. Since that's the case, there's no need for you to stay. The previous sword strike had already injured the sea serpent, causing it to lose control of the sea serpent Qi. Yi Chen was not afraid that it would use the sea serpent Qi again. He stamped his feet and released his hidden force. Immediately, 3 sword Qi flew out in a triangular formation. Boom! The sea serpent flew high in the air under the explosion of the hidden force, and forcibly withstood the 3 sword Qi. Fiercely hitting the cave wall, the sea serpent suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a wisp of fog. This wisp of fog turned into a ball of fire in the air, burning towards Yi Chen. Watch me destroy your mirage. Yi Chen didn't dare to face the fire directly. He was afraid that it might be a trap. He switched the hidden cloud sword to his left hand and launched the first style of the Tyrant Fist, Tyrannical Rampage. All of a sudden, the fire was integrated into the sword and rushed towards the sea serpent. A horrifying scream sounded. There was a bloody hole in the chest and abdomen of the sea serpent. The edge of the bloody hole was pitch black, and a disgusting burnt smell spread out, making people want to vomit. It's really a trap. The Tyrant Fist itself had no attribute, but it could be integrated into the opponent's attack. At this time, the sea serpent was clearly suffering from its own actions. However, Yi Chen didn't know that the sea serpent's mirage contained 5 elements of Yuan Qi. Fire Yuan Qi was one of them. That fire was the essence of the fire in its body. It was very difficult to condense it again. Just now, it was afraid that it couldn't kill Yi Chen, so it used the sea serpent Qi to cover up the existence of the fire. Then, it took back the sea serpent Qi, which was easy to give people the illusion that it was an illusion. As long as Yi Chen was not careful, there was a high possibility that he would fail miserably. The intelligence of this monster was not inferior to that of humans. In terms of insidiousness and cunning, most humans were no match for it. Yi Chen's pupils shrank, and his heart was filled with killing intent. This sea serpent must not be left alive, otherwise, there would be endless disasters. Die! With a low shout, Yi Chen threw out a punch and a sword at the same time. Crack! Bang! Like a broken sack, the sea serpent collapsed on the ground, motionless. However, Yi Chen was afraid that it was not enough, so he continued to attack until the sea serpent was no longer in its beast form. Walking to the corpse of the sea serpent, Yi Chen reached out his hand and a fist-sized inner pellet was sucked out. The surface of the inner pellet was white, and there was a mist overflowing from it. Just looking at it would easily make people hallucinate. Taking out a slightly larger jade box from his storage ring, Yi Chen put the inner pellet into it. Putting away the jade box, Yi Chen let out a sigh of relief. He looked around, hoping to find some clues. Previously, in the illusion, the sea serpent had described the characteristics of the granddaughter of the elder, so he should have seen her before. He wondered if she was in danger or not. If she was in danger, there was nothing he could do. After all, it had been too long. The sea serpent was not a herbivorous monster. It specialized in sucking human brains. Something was not right. Yi Chen suddenly shook his head. The sea serpent could not speak, so everything that happened in the illusion did not count. But, how did it know the characteristics of the granddaughter of the elder? Could it be that those were my own memories? The sea serpent made me hallucinate and said the answers I wanted to know. In other words, no matter who it was, as long as they were in the illusion, there would not be any loopholes in their words, because the questions I wanted to ask have already been answered. With a bitter smile, Yi Chen had to admit defeat to the sea serpent. If it were not for the fact that he had doubts in his heart and his unusually strong soul power, he would have been tricked by the sea serpent. After a careful search and finding no clues, Yi Chen immediately walked out of the cave. Outside the cave, the ground was a wasteland full of weeds. The stone bridge was just a fallen boulder. As for the gully, it was real, and below it was a lake. Following the way he came, Yi Chen went down the mountain. After a while, the lost ship appeared in front of him. There were more than 10 people standing there, including a girl in a yellow dress. The girl was beautiful and had a clean temperament. If he was not mistaken, the girl was the granddaughter of the old man, Chu Xinying. Young hero Yi, my granddaughter has been found. The old man smiled. Yi Chen touched his nose. That's good. Chu Ming asked, nothing happened on your side, right? No, nothing happened. Yi Chen did not intend to complicate matters. Anyway, the purpose of the other party was to find Chu Xinying, so there was no need to mention the sea serpent. That's good, let's go back. It's getting late. The old man nodded. The lost ship was abandoned in place. Everyone boarded the ironwood ship and sailed along the route they came from. On the way back, the number of demon beasts did not decrease, but because it was close to evening, it became more dangerous. Fortunately, Yi Chen and Chu Ming protected the ironwood ship and did not let it deviate from the route. When the last ray of sunlight faded, everyone had already returned to Pan Shan Island. It was a quiet night. The next morning, Yi Chen said goodbye to everyone. As for Chu Ming, it was rare for him to come back, so he planned to stay for a few more days. After all, the curse of Pan Shan Island generally occurred between the second and third month. There was no danger in the first and second month, and Chu Ming had only been back for a day. On the ancient water lake, the water was sparkling. A person stepped on a tree trunk and rushed forward. In June, the Inner Disciple ranking competition will be held. I wonder what kind of powerful characters will be among the top 10 Inner Disciples. Yi Chen's white robe fluttered in the wind. While looking at the lake scenery, he was thinking, "You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,